Well, it's a week of crazy news and crazy announcements and so much to talk about on this Hotline League, which is episode 146. I'm trying to keep my voice down because Kobe's asleep in the other room, but he's probably waking up right now as I'm saying this. Oh, I thought that he was going to be done and that he wouldn't have to do finals, but apparently he does, and so... Anyway, Mark is here.
Is this
Mark,
the start of the show?
my constant co-host. How's it going, Mark?
It's going great. I'm out of the living room and into the bedroom again. But as you can see, there's been some improvements made. I don't know if last time we were in here that I had the artwork. That's my boy Artorias, the Abyss Walker, and that is that Canada? Which one's Canada? That one's Canada, I think.
Hang on, really quickly. Twitch chat thinks I'm saying Kobe's doing casting. No, I think he's just he has some sort of role somewhere on the broadcast. I didn't mean to leak anything. I don't know if he's just doing a segment or something, but he's told me he has to keep his schedule nocturnal. That's all I know. I have no information beyond that. Go on, Mark. Continue.
Some dope new posters, which I don't know if they were there. That's our alchemy station. We're still building that out. We got some spoopy pillows. And then the greatest addition to the room. Oh, I don't ruin this shot, but boom, look at this beautiful machine.
Yes. So we got Mark, after doing everything on a laptop for years and years and years, an Alienware laptop, which of course was great. He finally decided he could make space in his apartment for a desktop computer. I think, that's not it. That's
we'll come back in a second.
There we go. That's the cam link, by the way. I just want to be clear. That's the cam link, not the computer.
It is my fault 100% with the connection to... It's not even the cam link, to be honest. It's actually the micro HDMI slot on my computer on my camera has been abused a little bit.
Well,
I've not always been the kindest.
So that's what's going on with Mark. He's finally upgraded. I think in part he was able to get it because he said that it was going to be for Ashley. Have I correct it in understanding that? You're really using Ashley's computer.
Yeah, I actually still like my laptops. I like having the mobility of any time I want my documents and everything that I have to be available wherever I am.
Your mobility so that you could use it in the living room.
I go from
love
the couch
that you say that.
to
you
the
never
living
leave your
room,
apartment.
To the kitchen table, to the bedroom.
This is a person, by the way, who like 2 shows ago was like, my battery in my car died because I didn't drive it for 6 months. And he's just talking about how he wants his laptop for his mobility.
I didn't say the range of mobility, all right? You know how hard it is to move a desktop 6 feet? Fucking impossible. You know how hard it is to move a laptop 6 feet? Easy. Okay? Doesn't matter if I'm talking about going across town or across the bedroom. It's still infeasible with a desktop. So I still love my Alienware laptops, but Ashley was due for a new computer, and so got her this beast.
Well, anyway, congratulations to Mark. We love hooking up him and his household with wonderful Alienware tech so that he can both
have Alienwares. So everyone in this house has Alienwares.
That's true. They like to play with the mice.
Oh no.
Anyway, I guess we already kind of did the intro shout out, but shout out to Alienware Draftbuff for sponsoring the show. We'll talk more about them both later. I guess we could have saved that Alienware segment for the actual Alienware block of time.
Yes, just copy paste it.
I mean, but it does explain why stuff looks different. What's funny is that you do look better with the cam link stuff, but like we're back in the bedroom.
Yeah. Why is that funny?
Well, because you've been randomly roaming your apartment with from your laptop for some time. Oh, now you've got the latte. Great.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
Glad you got it. This is what everybody tuned into the show for, is this just talk about how life is going so great for Mark. He's got mobility around his apartment. Girlfriend's got a new computer. He's got a latte.
Cat.
I'm just so happy for you, Mark. I'm so happy that your life is so...
pumpkin carving this weekend. Did I tell you that? I know you saw my pumpkin. I know you saw it.
I did see it. I told you I resented it.
Anyway, how are you doing? How about you, huh? What's going on in TV?
There's a homeless woman sitting on the couch behind me. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Oh, it's very f-stopped. Who is that? Is that Ovely?
It could be. We don't know. She showed up at. Then there's a dog in here too.
You're gonna have to tell me.
Okay, dog is not interacting. Sorry. At some point in time, I'm sure the dog will interact.
It's just you have a very high f-stop. Or is it low f-stop? I actually don't know.
I mean, it's also because my room is dark because I've got the... Hang on, let me see if I can turn the lights up.
I don't know if that'll help. It's really... Try it. It's worth trying. No, it's just blurry. All right, now change the focus. Yep. I got it right. I knew it.
All right. Anyway, sorry, podcast listeners,
for the weirdest
silence.
Start to a hotline league we've had in a minute.
It is. Anyway, let's. I mean, part of
it's
it
not
is
like anything happened this week.
Part of it is because nothing happened.
Yeah,
nothing happened.
What are we going to talk about? The greatest player in North American history who's been foundational to the scene retiring? Are we going to talk about that?
I mean, Peter hasn't retired yet, so I think we're...
Yeah, let's go check their Twitter followers, huh?
Oh, boy. What? Those are EU people, all right? They follow him that way. But anyway, yes, obviously... So some people might notice we don't have a guest on this. This is because Mark and I talked about having... The idea was, hey, why don't we take the first, 30 minutes to an hour and have different people from the industry call in. We'll also take callers that are not industry callers, but talk about Bjergsen and his career and what he meant for the LCS, and if they have any stories or anything that they want to say, kind of just giving an open forum for people to talk about his career, because I think this is the biggest retirement that we've ever seen in the LCS. And probably for a while. So we will... I just think it's a good opportunity to have this conversation. So yeah, that's the plan.
What is that called? Is it a eulogy?
No, that's if he died. He did
not die.
But
I'm saying, is eulogy when people give their remarks, or is that... So now wake is when you view the body. Awake is when you I think it's a eulogy.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's a speech you're writing in the praise of a person or things, especially someone who has died recently or retired as a term of endearment.
A eulogy can be for someone who retired?
Yeah, I don't think anyone really uses it that way, but
this is officially the Bjergsen eulogy episode.
I gotta change my tweet. I was in the middle of drafting it.
Oh my god. Okay, well...
Hosting a Bjergsen eulogy.
I mean, it's great that you can actually... where did you see the definition? On Google?
I just Googled eulogy, yeah.
Okay. Well... okay, so the first thing... Typically someone else who has died, you need... Where do you see the part where it says they...
It says eulogy, Wikipedia. Eulogy is a speech or writing in praise of a person or persons or things, especially one who has recently died or retired or as a terms of endearment. Okay. Eulogy may be given as a part of funeral services.
Okay, well, I guess this is the Bjergsen eulogy episode. Oh boy.
F's
in the chat.
F's in the chat.
Okay. there they all go. Okay, whatever. Let's just call it like the Bjergsen retirement episode. Twitch chat.
I'm putting eulogy on my Twitter.
Okay. Let's okay, so there's that, and then later on in the show we're going to be talking about worlds and off-season rumors. So and I have a little one that I think I can share on the show. But so far, one, if anybody hasn't yet, you can go check out my video that I posted. When was it? Sunday? Today's Monday. When did I post it? Oh my god, everything's still blurring together from my weird schedule, but it should be up on the channel. And I talked a lot about rumors that some of which have since been pseudo corroborated by ESPN. So there's the Alfari to TL thing, and then I already fuck up his name. Helioto, is that how you say it?
Helioto, I think.
Anyway, a two Immortals thing that also got corroborated. So that is that's stuff that we'll talk about as well. And yeah, I think that'll be most of the episode. So, Mark, shall we get into it? Or is there actually... why don't you and I talk really quickly about the Bjergsen stuff? I mean, I already did a video, but I'm kind of curious. You haven't really talked about it, so...
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Oh, okay. I will fill time.
It's just 3 seconds.
Stahil gifted
I know people are going to say the eulogy thing online, so I already responded to my own tweet.
Stahil gifted a sub to TSM Bjergsen. That's a great way to start off this eulogy. Anyway, I did a video talking about sort of my immediate reaction, but it's funny because I was streaming that morning because we had just gotten done with the press conferences, and I was just like, I did not see this coming at all. There was been no rumors about it, nothing. I had no idea that he was considering it.
Yeah.
And so it just like crazy, my reaction, I was just stunned for a while. I don't know if anybody was watching the stream then, but I didn't know what to say. And so, yeah, it was just what I like to say, bonkers.com, which by the way, if anybody has the ability to buy that domain and gift it to me, it's a perfect Christmas gift. I really want to own bonkers.com.
Did Bjergsen type something in the chat, or did people just I don't know if that's actually his Twitter.
No. I think it's because somebody gifted him a sub.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, it was weird. Usually I feel like you can pick these kind of things out coming, whether through how people are talking in interviews or what happened in the split or these kinds of things and whatnot. Didn't really, yeah, like you said, didn't have any idea it was coming. So it was a huge shock. They just won NA. So it was crazy, and it feels really weird because, and this is how it feels whenever like a significant sports figure retires. But I feel like it's extra true for the NA league scene, is that it just feels like a hole, like a gap in the NA scene. I feel like people always say that when a pro retires or whatever, but I feel like it's especially true because I don't really know who is the, I tweeted this, who does the torch go to in NA? I don't think the next generation great has emerged, quite like how if you talk about the torch in Europe going from probably Froggen, Alex Each to Speke and then to Caps and there's arguably like a little bit of 2015, 2016 being a little slow. But it is a different generation of people. Jensen was a year later when he started playing. It wasn't like Jensen was a different generation, so to speak. And I use generation to mean a cycle of how long a player's career is. Most players play for 4 to 6 years, probably, if I had to guess. So is there anyone from the last 4 to 6 years who feel like they could ever take Bjergsen's place, or not take his place, but become who he is, the way Caps has kind of become the next great European mid, and even Perkz. That's someone I should have mentioned as well, being someone who joined the European great mid laners. I'm not saying there's not new talent. A lot of people are saying people like Licorice, Tactical, and whatnot. Licorice is probably the closest, but they don't have everything that goes into being a superstar. Bjergsen is more than just the best North American mid laner of all time. He's got 1.3 million Twitter followers. And it's who among the new guard even has 100K? Even Licorice is not even fucking close. I think he's at 70. Let me go check. It's been a while since I creeped him.
Has Licorice got MVP at all yet? Did he get it one of the?
No MVPs yet.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what
66K. Yeah.
Now, by the way, there is a Twitch account in the chat called TSM Licorice, so maybe he will end up becoming that. I don't know, but I just think it's kind of funny.
I'm saying Jensen doesn't count, guys. People keep saying Jensen's at 200K, which is once again still not really, but
yeah, and we're not we're talking about sort of generations. So
right, this is a historic figure who's basically been here since the beginning. He missed season 3. That's the only season of LCS he missed. He's not quite the old guard of Dyrus, Double Lift, Reggie, that crew, but he was. And
when he showed up in the scene, he was undisputed, just the best player in the league. That's definitely dominated everyone in his lane. Yeah, it just was the best player in the league, no matter what, and took he showed up and took TSM to just these repeated wins over and over again. So. I think that's what you're getting at. People are always going to be able to be well, what about this player, this player, this player? But I think we know what you're talking about, Mark.
Yeah. I'm just saying that, like, and I want to get into some of those cool stories. Hopefully, if there are other, which is what I tweeted, but if anyone is watching, like, if there's anyone who is in the scene around that time or just has any cool Bjergsen stories about watching him and things, like the people remember the fucking pentakill he got in Europe, before he came to North America on the Syndra, like one of the first great Syndra players. Like, there's all these insane stories about him. I definitely have a couple that I remember.
By the way, I think we have our first person, celebrity, you want to call him that, who's ready to come on the show.
Tim?
If you want to go pull him, yeah. Off Mark goes to grab Tim. We Need Gamer, thank you, or We Need a Gamer, thank you for the prime. Shiansi, the Meek Freak, Stahil gifted a sub to TSM Bjergsen, Jaylee 3350, DJ Derek, Team Corgi Meg, Lemon Peppered. And looks like Tim is here. Tim of Run It fame. Is that
Oracle's Elixir? Talk about league figures.
Give me some credit, Travis.
Talk about league figures. He was one of the first people to have, like, he's one of the great 3 sites that I think exists in at least the West for people who do analysis. You have Leaguepedia, Oracle's Elixir, and Games of Legend. Like, those 3 together are used by fucking everyone. And I don't know how the scene would exist without Tim giving us our stats.
I think Run It is brand wise starting to surpass Oracle's Elixir. Do you worry about that, Tim?
Yeah, I'd say that's probably pretty accurate. I'll have to go check the numbers on it. But,
wait, what was the thread? There was a thread, was it on the TSM subreddit this week that was like, Tim from Run It.
Yeah, it was. I think I had done my own, like, little opinion video or something. Then somebody shared it to I'm pretty sure it was the TSM subreddit saying, yeah, TSM, the host of Run It.
Or Tim, the host of Run It, yeah.
Or sorry, yeah.
Steve?
TSM and Tim are basically the same.
Yeah.
Steve, the host of Run It?
Yes.
And that was the other random Run It comment saying Steve is so good or whatever, something like that. I think it was very positive and complimentary, but they look at my last name.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Steve, Tim, TSM, where are you calling from?
Well, I'm calling from Vancouver Island in Canada,
on
the West Coast. Best place in the world to live, unless your entire industry is based in LA.
Very, very inconvenient, by the way, for me, because it makes me paying Tim and sending him hardware and everything so much more complicated. It'd be much easier if you just lived, 100 miles south, 200 miles? I don't know where Vancouver Island is in relation to the border.
It's actually, parts of the island are actually south of this kind of straight line border.
Oh, really? Okay, can you just go down there one day and then pick something up? Is that how that works?
A lot of people who live on the mainland, so Vancouver area, can actually just pop right across the border and have postal boxes there, and they ship stuff there, pop across the border, pick it up.
Okay, well, that's good to know. We'll do that. Anyway, so Tim is, maybe spoiler alert, working on a Bjergsen video for Run It this week. Even though it'll mean that half of our episodes of Run It will be about TSM, which I had, after our last TSM video, I was like, okay, I'm officially banning us from doing 80 more TSM Run It, so then Bjergsen retires. But yeah, Tim, I mean, what's it been like for you going through making that video and sort of your experiences you've been reflecting on Bjergsen's time in LCS?
Yeah, I think my experience, with Bjergsen will probably be a little bit more similar to like a fan perspective than I'm sure some of the other people you're going to end up talking to tonight, because I've really been kind of watching and following, mostly from the outside, just watching and enjoying his play and what he's done for the league. Whether or not you were a TSM fan, you always really appreciated what Bjergsen was doing and how much he contributed. And when you look back over his career and you start like counting up the things he achieved, you can cast some doubt on the international, lack of kind of progress there. But what he did locally, what he did in NA, is just completely unrivaled, really. Winning 6 championships, that's not number one, but it's a pretty big deal. Getting 4 MVPs is a really big deal. I think the 3 finals MVPs are the one that really strike me the most. Like, these are the matches that absolutely matter most, and that's exactly where Bjergsen showed up and just did whatever he had to do to get those wins. And that's what was so impressive that he could actually achieve all of these things and over such a long time period. And then to go out really at the top of his game, right? Like he was the first team All-Pro this summer. And to go out at that level and not kind of on a decline and say, okay, I had one bad year and I don't think I'm bringing it back. Now I'm done. Like, I really, really respect that. As much as I'd love to see him continue to play, and I think it'd be good for the league if he continues to play, I definitely respect his willingness to say, no, this is my time. I'm ready to move on.
I mean, he was not just All-Pro, but I think he was number 2 behind CoreJJ for MVP this split, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's true.
So
it's not something that somebody does at kind of the twilight of their career.
I mean, Bjergsen hasn't, and Mark, Tim, you help me think if there's anybody else that comes to mind, but no one has been as consistently good as him, right? Like, people might say that he dropped off a little bit, in 2018, 2019, in the years that TSM didn't make it to Worlds, but it feels like a lot of that might have just been because he was on teams that were not as successful, and so perhaps it was harder for him to shine. But, I mean, just consistently, he's been so good, and even in the early days, you had, like, I think Peter was still, he was on a CLG for a while, whenever Bjergsen was over here. So, it just feels like Bjergsen has been the most consistent player in his across the history of the LCS.
Yeah, I think. I mean, Noblesse obviously an all-time great as well, and number with him up there 1 and 2 for the best in the league. And you can argue Noblesse had some higher highs in his career, but he's also had a lot lower lows, like getting relegated on CLG and the 9th place finish. Some of those things. Bjergsen's never had that, so I think to that point about consistency, it's definitely true. And I think, especially in the early days, those formative years of the LCS, when CLG wasn't so hot, it was C9 and TSM as the 1-2, and like High and Bjergsen were so far beyond anyone else in the league at that point in time in the mid lane. Like there were other good players, they had some good performances like Vulcan and Link and whatnot and stuff, but like it didn't really ever feel like the conversation was like any of them were in that stratosphere, like they're good players, but they weren't Bjergsen and stuff. So
people in the chat are saying High or Sneaky, but like we're talking about consistency over the course of 6 years. Like Sneaky didn't even play this year. High's been out for a while, so that's kind of what I'm talking about. Is it's just like I'm curious who the next player will be that will be able to sort of match like just this high performance for so many years. Yeah,
and I'd say the fact that you could pretty much have any roster configuration with Bjergsen in the middle of it, and it was always at least a decent team, right? Like they, like you said, like Doublelift had, like Mark was saying, Doublelift had kind of the season where he had to fight through relegation or whatever and did these kinds of things and moved around teams. But Bjergsen never had to fight through that. It was put some players around him, shuffle the pieces, and they had to fight at times to kind of get the right thing to bring themselves back to that championship caliber. But no matter what pieces you had around him, you felt like, yeah, this team could go top 3, top 4 at least. They could probably make a run to the finals if things come together. Like, no matter what, a Bjergsen team was a good team. And that's not something you could really say about other players. And I think the other point that really makes him so beloved in a lot of ways is that he stuck it out with one team, which is a really big deal for a player's kind of brand and legacy and so on. Being able to, once he came over to North America, then he was a TSM lifer.
Yeah.
And moving between teams, you're going to keep your player fan base, but you're not going to be able to, have that same claim to like some of the greatest players of all time generally are the players who either had one team that they are really iconic with, or ideally kind of stayed there their entire career. And I think that's something really impressive also.
Yeah, no, it's super true. Tim, do you have any, I mean, I know you've been following his career at Oracle's Elixir for so long. So are there any stats or any records or anything that really stand out to you besides the obvious like MVP stuff, like, et cetera?
Yeah, so I've been kind of running through some of his career numbers to prep for some stuff for Run It, and I think when you compare him to some of like the other all-time greats, at least at his position, because comparing stats across roles is always a bit of a challenge. But when you just look at other like legendary mid laners and how he stacks up, it's actually quite impressive. So like Bjergsen actually has a 5.2 KDA across 662 games in all different tournaments he's competed in, and like over a 5 is impressive in any stretch of play, let alone that long of a time period. For comparison, Faker's all-time KDA is 4.4, Cap's 3.8. Like KDA is the most entry level unexciting stat, but it is always relevant to at least some degree, and that number is just really ridiculous. His overall goal plus experience difference at 10 minutes throughout his career plus 302. Again, for a comparison point, Faker plus 122. Like this is not a good number. This is a great number.
Yeah.
And you can, there's some more numbers like that we could go through, but these are things that you can kind of mentally adjust downwards a little bit if you want for playing in an A instead of playing in Korea, whatever you want to say there. But being able to do that across such a long time span, being able to always be, a top 2, top 3 in your role in all these categories across a 6-year time span in LCS, 7-year when you include his LEC year, is really just pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, like the numbers are always going to sound really cool, and I know there's always going to be naysayers about the playing in NA and whatnot. I think for me, the thing that stands out the most is especially those formative years, like the fact that he maintained it and didn't drop off where a lot of players do, is impressive. But like there were a number of those players that when they came onto the scene just crushed so hard that you realized the game was going to change because of them. Faker had this effect in Korea and on a world stage, but even in NA, like I think it was the first split spring, he solo killed everyone at least once in stage, like during the regular season. And I remember some scrims just like, holy fuck, this guy's nuts. We were scrimming against TSM. It's 2014. I think it might have been summer. I think it was spring because we were still like all just having to come to terms with the fact that like this guy's so fucking nuts. And I was like, I think I was sitting behind Dom, and we were like trying to gank his lane or some shit. He was playing Gragas mid. Gragas mid was a overpowered piece of shit back then, but we were just trying to gank him like 3-man or something, and I think they countered it, and it was like around like mid inner, and he does that thing, where he throws the barrel in one spot, and he ulted 2 of our people on top of the Q barrel, and then reactivated that for a double kill in mid lane, and we were all just like, holy fuck, he's too good. Dom was like tilted as fuck just watching this happen. And like that's what it was like when you played him. Like you just like tried to gank his lane, it never worked out. You just felt like you're getting styled on. If you didn't go to his lane, he solo killed your mid, and like it was like, oh, it's a travesty. And there's a couple like times in history where you're just like, oh god, we're getting shit on so hard. This person is just a level above us. Definitely felt that when Huni came over in 2016 with Immortals. I don't know if anyone ever heard that story, but like they ripped off like 30 straight scrim wins against different people. Like they just hadn't lost. They came over in like beginning of December, and then there's like a New Year's party, and we're like, have you guys lost a scrim yet? And they're like, no. Like there's all these insane ass stories about some players, and Bjergsen had a lot of those. Like when he came over, you're just like, oh god damn, he's so much better than us.
Yeah.
And I think on my side of it, the complete other angle of that is Bjergsen could be that crazy pop-off carry player who just does things that you haven't really seen before. But then he also comes out and he plays the Lulu when people are playing Lulu. He plays a little bit of set. He brings out the Zillion, and he does all these other things. And one of the points that's such a highlight to me, especially as the mid lane role has evolved, he has always evolved alongside it. And that's another point that I think has always been celebrated a lot about Faker is he could take pretty much any champion in any role and turn it into a way to carry a game. And Bjergsen was kind of the NA equivalent of that he could come out with any champion archetype you want. Whether you're talking control mages, you're talking assassins, you're talking about straight up support, you're talking about tank, and he brought it out and he made it work. And he could, I think that's such a big reason why, as I was saying before, you could put him into any roster setup and have that team be at very least, competitive, like top 4 level with potential to take a title if it all worked. And is that he could do any style that the team wanted him to do.
Yeah, no, it's true. Hey, Tim, thank you so much for calling in. One second.
Thanks for having me.
Do you want to say anything before you go, Bjergsen? Okay. Well, we'll get you in a second. Anyway,
doesn't care about Bjergsen. Confirmed.
Thank you, Tim, for calling in. Anything you want to shout out before we move on to the next caller?
No, check out the next episode of Run It. We'll run some cool numbers on that, and always happy to kind of have these conversations with people.
Have a good one.
All right,
bye. Come say hi and bye to everyone. And say something about Bjergsen.
Bjergsen is, I know I can't have favorites of players, but
Yeah, you can. Who cares?
Well, No, because I tell them all that I love them equally, but I'm
Oh.
going to be very extra sad not seeing him in the studio anymore. That being said, no one's in the studio right now, but you guys know what I mean. He's always been a sweetheart to everyone on the LCS staff, whether it be, the casting crew or anyone behind the scenes as well. I love watching him interact with Cass, the makeup artist. So
I'll stop talking.
the dude upstairs gifted 50 subs to Travis. What did you do to the dude upstairs that...
I'm very confused because Kobe and I live on the top floor, so I don't know what that means. But
Yeah, there's a homeless guy on the roof. What do you
Yeah.
With a lot of Twitch subs to give out.
But yeah, I'm gonna super miss Bjergsen, and well, no, I guess he's gonna be on coach. So yeah,
but it won't be the
Yeah,
same.
it's not the
I
same.
want to see. I'm sure that the roster is getting blown up, but I'd like to see like Coach Bjergsen just scold player double lift. That'd be sick to watch. That's drama. That's content.
Since I don't normally get gifted 50 subs, you should stop by more often. Do you want to show them your animal as you leave?
But okay.
I mean, aren't you leaving? He's gonna have to stop taking a nap regardless.
Oh, he's a big boy. I thought when we were talking about this, it was going to be a...
No, it's a big animal. Sorry, podcast listeners who cannot. He's not paying attention. You said he's a good boy, but he's
He is a good boy.
he missed. He's unhappy with the situation.
There's not enough space.
All right, well, we tried.
Okay. My power's back on. Bye.
Your power's back on? Okay,
Bye.
well, congratulations. Have a good one. See you later.
There's a lot of people in the chat who are like, "Whoa, he's not dead. Why are you doing this?" Like, have you ever watched sports before, dude? Anytime a big
I think a
figure
lot of
in
them
the scene-
have not, but
Well, have you ever try to use your 2 brain cells? When people retire, you talk about them. This is like what you do. You reflect. You go, "Oh, wasn't that great when this thing happened?" It's
yeah,
not
people
that,
do
not that
documentaries
great.
and features and entire episodes, and I mean, there's tons of sports players who get like front page covers and all that stuff. So yeah, people, I think, a lot of people, I'm sure, don't
People
watch
retire
sports,
from
but
businesses. This happens.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the Spirited Away director Miyamoto retired again. No, wait, not Miyamoto. Oh my God, Miyazaki. Jesus Christ. Yeah, Miyazaki retired again. Everyone, let's talk about his greatest movies of all time. Like anytime anyone retires who is a prolific figure in any industry, people are going to talk about it when it happens.
True. By the way, we got 10 gifted subs from Sherkon and 5 from Exolvark. I don't know why everybody's gifting subs right now. Maybe I need to bring Avali back.
We need more famous figures to retire for more subs. That's what we need.
I didn't know if it was because of Bjergsen or Avali, but whatever. Anyway, do we? Raz was in the chat earlier. Raz, if you want to come on the show and chat about Bjergsen and his legacy, you of course can. Anybody can, but if not, maybe we'll start grabbing some.
Do you have
more traditional
one?
colors?
Do you have a Bjergsen story, an interview that you did or anything that was cool?
No, I mean, I mostly have talked a lot about that. I mean, I'll just say he's always been one of my favorite people to interview. It's hard to get interviews with him because he does not like, I think, doing them very much. But like, okay, let's put it this way. People like to talk a lot about good interviews or bad interviews, interviewers. And I will say people don't realize that like 80 to 90% of how good an interviewer looks is based off of the interviewee. Like people like to say, you should be like that guy from Hot Ones. And I'm like, yeah, if I got to interview Will Ferrell, you guys would probably think I'm a god tier interviewer too. Anyway, all I'm going to say is like when it came to Bjergsen, I always knew that there'd be comments like, Travis is such a good interviewer. If only because he was so great at giving these really thoughtful,
that's Bjergsen, dude. He elevates
answers.
everyone around him, including interviewers even.
Yes. Yes.
Also, you put some goddamn respect in Hot Ones. God, Sean Evans. I can't. I'm bad with names tonight. Put some respect in Sean Evans' name, dude. That guy's a beast. I watched a podcast where he talked about his process. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, you say that, but I'm sure he's a good interviewer. But like, they cut those things down so much. Like, it's so funny if you watch those episodes and you're used to like editing stuff, you'll just see him and. It's almost as bad as Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee for me, where he'll be like, "Oh man, so what did you think about this event in your career?" And the interviewee will be like, "I thought it was crazy. Also, oh my god, this hot wing is so hot." And then they'll just edit and go to the next question.
Yeah, but you also have all those guys.
We're not talking about Hot Ones. We're talking about Bjergsen. And what I'm saying is,
you brought it up. You shouldn't have brought up Hot Ones if you didn't want to talk about it.
I know. I wanted to talk about Bjergsen, Mark. And I was telling the story of how he's such a great interviewee because his answers are so thoughtful and he's such a smart person that you know that you're going to look great whenever you talk to him. So I've just always really appreciated interviewing him because much like Reckless, I think is another example of something like that. If people go watch the Reckless interviews, they'll always be like, "Oh, Travis is so good." Bjergsen the same way. Like he just always really opens up, talks a lot about stuff, gives really well thought out reasoned answers, and I think it's great. So yeah, I'm gonna miss being able to do that. Did you pull anybody into the waiting room?
Nope.
Why? I was stalling for you. I thought that's why you asked me, was so that I could stall for you.
All right, you know what? Raz didn't show up. We can blame Raz. We can move on to off-season rumors because that was another big thing.
Danan is mourning, so maybe he can come on the show. I mean, guys, if you're a mutual or you're an industry figure, message Mark on Discord because
don't do it on. I guess Discord works.
Thank you to Shercon NA for the 10 gifted subs, Xsolvark for the 5, Dude Upstairs, thank you for the 50 gifted subs. That's bonkers.com. Jaffe58, KingEvander, Blue Daimyo, Krental, Insulin Shots, 80 Semi, the Ghost Rider, and yeah, thank you. Oh, and Shercon sent a Prime as well. Looks like Mark is looking for some people to come on.
Well, what did you want me to pull people for before?
I mean, it doesn't have to be industry figures talking about the Bjergsen stuff. We can take.
Well, that's why I was going to move on to something else because I thought we were wrapping it up.
Oh well, we've only had one caller about the Tim thing, or sorry, Tim on the show. So I guess
I'll start pulling some randoms.
Yes, I think it's fine.
Okay, let's do it.
Where if anybody wants to talk about Bjergsen, open calls tonight. Pleb time, says Alec DS. Yes. Very, very excited. Danan, if you want to come on, just message Mark. If any industry figures want to hit him up, we can do that as well. Some great takes in the Twitch chat tonight. Really appreciate it. You guys are fantastic.
There's not many great takes anywhere, I'll tell you that.
About Bjergsen's career?
Yes, I won't. An unnamed source gave us the classic. He set NA behind because he started the import craze.
Oh God,
the classic.
That's a rough one. So some of the takes. People think on this show that we intentionally pick
up good takes
really that we pass up really. That we're like only picking the worst takes. The truth thing is that I think we miss most of the really bad ones. So the ones that you hear are stuff that is not at the very bottom. So
yeah, I don't see Danan in any of the rooms. Maybe I'm missing him, but
oh, Danan,
he's too sad.
People legit trolling us tonight. Alfari is retiring as well. Great joke, love it. Fantastic. Twitch chat,
I don't know. That's not original, but it just surprised me. I guess I don't know.
Yes. So I think we'll talk a little bit more about the Bjergsen stuff as Mark pulls takes. But and by the way, if you guys want to join the Discord and you want to share your take, oh, Mark's pulling somebody. We're good. But yes, there's definitely some off-season conversation to be had. Looks like we've got Danan on the show. Danan, the general manager for Golden Guardians. How's it going, Danan? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling live from my den, my office.
Okay, I'm turning you up a little bit. Live from your den, which I assume is in Los Angeles, California.
Yep, we're over in West LA. I would prefer to be in Iowa during the off season, but the world's on fire, so I'm gonna not.
You're a little quiet, so I don't know if you can get your microphone a little closer.
Is that any better?
Yes, a little bit. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, I was just I think a lot of people, I understand it, and I don't want to take away from celebrating his career, but I think I'm definitely doing a bit more lamenting and mourning than I am celebrating, given the circumstances.
You have to be careful. Twitch chat already angry at us for acting as if he's dead, but why do you say mourning?
So for me, obviously, like I was here before, Soren came in, got to be here the whole time during. It's looking like maybe I'll be here after, but I always kind of saw him as our LeBron, right? Like, as the way the league is scaling and the things that we're doing with the goals that we want to achieve as a league, he's been that central figure, right? He's been the guy. And I think, especially with what happened last offseason and everything, it's now kind of leaving a sour taste in my mouth compared to what I think could have been, right? I think the like similarity I'm drawing is LeBron struggled to get out of groups, get a ring effectively for what I think 6-7 years with the Cavs, and then instead of signing an extension, which is obviously what Soren did, he went to the Heat, and that's kind of like what broke it open for him. He was able to get back-to-backs, really establish himself, also elevate the league itself, and this was all in the East if you follow the NBA. And then he was able to take that experience, turn it around, come back, bring a ring to the Cavs, which was just kind of earth-shattering for that entire ecosystem. Like that's kind of like revolutionary for that whole scene. And then turn around and obviously just do more, kind of do whatever he wanted, right? Retire more appropriately or work towards it. Like he's not there yet, but he's going to get there. And that is such a more optimistic pathway than the sign an extension, fail to get out of groups again, be like, all right, I guess it's time to retire.
So you would have liked to have seen him mix it up or make some changes to his environment by potentially even switching to a different team. You're going to make a lot of TSM fans in chat angry about that, but...
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. That's like an interesting take. I've never really thought of that before, is like, if he had gone, for instance, to TL, would he have had a better chance, or Cloud9 or something like that, of making it out of groups?
Yeah.
Mark, I don't know what your thoughts are on this.
I mean, it's an interesting idea. I missed some of the drama of the move, the decision and all that, and then Dan Gibson? Yeah. Just like the letter he wrote, the open letter where he's like, I'm gonna win a championship before you. Fuck you, LeBron. And then they go to Miami. It was the second year they win or something. Dan Gilbert, there we go. Dan Gilbert. Like I said, awful with names tonight. And just the hilarity of the angry letter, everyone going crazy, the decision, they go to Miami. I think they lose the first time, everyone's excited, and then they eventually win, I think 2 a day or whatever it was, maybe just 1. And then when he went back, it's just like welcome back with open arms, despite how much they hated him. They were burning his shoes and his jersey when he left. It was such a shit show.
This changed everything. That elevated the league, right? And not only that, but one of the coolest things I think it did was it like bridged the disconnect between, I think, the entire league itself, like the East and the West, right? To the point where he comes back, he gives them their championship that he feels like he owes them, in the same way that Soren felt like going back to TSM was owed in this last year. Presumably, obviously, on the back of like the rule set changes of the equity and stuff. But then the crazy thing is, after that, his career doesn't just like stop. Like, we're still talking about how LeBron can dominate for like at least another few years, and has just exampled it once again. And so to keep doing that, he just went to the West, which was obviously getting a lot more competitive in response to the East being so insane with the prevalence of obviously Miami and Cavs and them being over there, right? I'm just sad we're missing that opportunity. We don't get to see that elevation on the back of a singular player like that. Like, the league can still find it, but I felt like that was our pathway, and we just never got to explore it.
I mean, the scary side, alternative version is like not that he goes to a different team in the LCS, but that he goes back to LEC. And like if he had been, starting on Fnatic this year or next year or something like that.
Yeah, I feel like we got some of those storylines on the Doublelift side coming over from CLG. I think that was kind of that moment. I mean, they got like it was some of the biggest streams everyone had was like 100K, which I know now doesn't sound that big, but it was a huge deal back then. And like, I think Caps has that kind of story where he joined up with G2, and like Bjergsen didn't end up leaving, but they still got some insano. Like I think League has had those kind of moments. Like Doublelift to TSM when that happened was like I would have never guessed in a million years this was going to happen. And that was a super team, more or less, in terms of the talent that they got for it.
But yeah, imagine the decision year, where instead of LeBron goes to the Heat, we just see the NBA make a rule change where he can get Cavs equity. They put that in front of him, and to be clear, only the Cavs can offer him equity, right? He stays, he doesn't get a ring for another year, and he goes, "Well, I guess the Cavs really need some coaching help. It's time for me to step in."
Yeah, no, it's a good point. It's interesting to imagine what an alternate universe with Bjergsen elsewhere would have been, or like the hype and drama of like a decision he has to make about where he would go or what he would do. So I don't know. I think it's really interesting for sure.
Yeah. It'd be weird though, if there was this other league or a couple other leagues around the world that absolutely just shit on the NBA, and then it's like, we're not even talking about, LeBron like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we could at least draw that against TSM failing particularly hard against like the growth of TSM, the return of TL and the return of C9 in these last few years in comparison. I think that's our inner monologue, right?
No, it's true. Hey, Danan, thanks so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out before we move on to the next caller?
Sure. Just want to shout out. Obviously, everyone's always focused on the players, but I want to thank my staff for being here, surviving the craziness that is this off season. It's a good time, but I'm happy to have Nick and Sam, Aaron, John, Johnny, Jimmy, everybody.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for the call.
Yep, appreciate it.
People in chat said that Danan was salty. I don't think Danan was like, oh no, Golden Guardians couldn't get Bjergsen. I think he thinks it would have been interesting to sort of see what the narrative would have been like elsewhere, or what that could have looked like. Is it Magi? Is that how I should call you?
MagiMik, yeah.
You've called him before, good. I want to say?
Magi.
No, yes, I know Magi. Have you called into the show before?
Oh, yeah, I have. Sorry. I was cutting out a little. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Well, welcome back. What do you want to talk about on the show? Oh, sorry,
right,
where are you calling from?
Oh, I'm calling from Jersey City.
Jersey City, okay.
Yes.
What do you want to talk about?
So my take is actually, Bjergsen retiring is sad, but I actually think this is good for the league and will actually bring a new era to the LCS.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, go ahead and elaborate because I'm kind of curious what you think.
Okay, so my feeling about this. So honestly, I was thinking about this for a while now with a couple of players, but since Bjergsen is retiring and he's such a prolific figure and he's retiring on the high too, like he hasn't been bad. Him becoming a coach and possibly leading, like say TSM gets a new mid, say like hypothetical they promote Evolved, we have Bjergsen coaching a whole new mid and like bringing him up and teaching him how to actually lane smartly. And if that shows success, I mean, other players that people feel who would make good coaches but have maybe stayed a bit too long may like look at Bjergsen and be like, hey, this is going well. I could also make this transition. Players I come want to really.
Oh, you're kind of breaking up a bit.
Oh.
What's that last bit?
Hello? Oh, sorry. I was saying I have some players that come to mind, but I don't want to blast any. But that is my take.
So this is really interesting to me because I think we're all talking about how great of a player he is. So I'm a little nervous to spoil that hype conversation, but I think there's going to be a lot of questions about how good of a coach he can be, and potentially he can be a great one. And I know there's a ton of TSM fans and Bjergsen fans that are going to scream at me and be like, "What are you talking about? Of course he's got to be an amazing coach." But like, I mean, what I would say is like TSM, like Bjergsen has been heavily involved on the coaching side of the team for a while, and I am curious to see if like he's able to figure it out. And I think in the very beginning, there's a good chance it could be a rough start. Somebody I was talking to, I forget who, was like, you know what often happens in traditional sports when players become coaches is the players just become frustrated that the players that they're coaching are not as good as they were. And like that sounds maybe a little blunt, but like,
yeah, I was gonna
go ahead, Mark.
I was gonna say at the end of this whenever we ended the Bjergsen topic, I was gonna make a joke about like, so you think we see him in summer? You know,
Yeah,
like,
no, I mean, it's
actually not that unlikely. I think.
Yes. I mean,
maybe not specifically summer, but
no, I mean summer. I think. I mean, imagine TSM goes. It's sort of. I mean, we've seen this with Parth. Parth has not wanted to coach that team for a long time, and yet he always comes back because it's like, okay, well, the coach that we had didn't work out, and so Parth is coaching again. You can kind of imagine a world where they like, you know, go with this like really positive idea of, hey, we're going to bring in this like rookie mid laner, and then that rookie mid laner doesn't work out, and TSM's in dire straits, and it looks like they might not make Worlds, and so then Bjergsen subs back in again. So I mean, you could see it happening. I don't know if it's likely, but you know, if you told me there's a 20 to 30% chance that happens, I could believe you.
Yeah,
but would TSM making Worlds be like as predicted if it's Bjergsen's first year as coach? I mean, that I feel like that's like a high bar to keep, but I mean, I feel he could still have a good year, and that'll motivate maybe other old guard players to maybe make that transition also.
I think it's tough to say what TSM's goal should be set to without seeing whatever happens with their roster, because it sounds like there's a lot more changes coming down the pipeline. So I will have to evaluate them. But if they have a good performance with this roster that's not like a super team, you know, I think people will talk highly of them the same way people talk highly of Jat with his first split or whatever. And yeah, I mean, I guess I'll save this for another topic that's talking about other people and potentially retiring and like a new era of league coming soon. But I think hopefully the scene is more willing to have higher turnover in general. I think, whether that means moving on to coaching or otherwise.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting. Is the idea that this, though, let's just kind of go back to the original point. Is this actually good for the league? I would say LCS is in a tough spot right now because we're all like, the whole thing is remote. There's a very good chance it'll be remote in the beginning of next year. As Mark and I have talked about, like, it doesn't seem like people will say Tactical. Tactical had, well, he had like 1.5 good splits, I guess I would say. Like, there's a lot of instances of a player, you know, we've talked about it before, like the Mike Young scenario, where you have a player that pops off, looks really good. I think it's very good chances that Tactical looks great, but I'm not ready to give him the crown yet. And if we don't have somebody there, and even then, Tactical kind of a quiet, unassuming dude.
I mean, yeah. I mean, Bjergsen was never super loud and outspoken. He won a lot of his fans, I think, on the Rift and having a professional attitude.
Yeah, but he built a lot of those fans also from streaming and like being pretty thoughtful and conversational on stream.
Right. Yeah, I'm just saying like he wasn't a loud personality. But to the point about, you know, like the replacing Bjergsen in a sense in the minds of fans, it's not about, I think, like level of play or that there's not good players in North America, but like people tuned in to watch TSM. You know, like they were still, I think, the most watched team in the league around. So like, what now? You know, is TSM still the most watched team? And if not, do those fans just disappear? Do they go somewhere else? You know, like what is going to happen with the retirement of the league's most popular player without there being, you know, Doublelift is the only superstar I think you can say is left. Honestly, after Sneaky is out. I don't think anyone else has broken into like superstar status where they have hundreds of thousands of fans.
Magi, you're still in the call right now.
Yeah. Yes,
but I see you in Twitch chat saying, did they even answer my take?
I'm not saying anything important. Why would you listen to me, dude?
No, I am listening. I was
like, we're talking about your take right now, which is that you think that it's a good thing, and we're speculating on maybe it might not be a good thing.
Okay.
I mean, but he's saying more from a performance standpoint. I think about it could be a good thing about.
Yeah, more in the long run. Like what can this mean? Not directly focus on like TSM. It's more on the overall like mindset of the league. That's how I think of it. Like Bjergsen retiring is just so huge. It's just it's a shell shock to like everyone. It's like could get people rethinking.
Yeah, I do think this is gonna lead to like the biggest change for LCS in a long time. Like, I think next year, like there are some rumors about some changes to the league structure that I'll probably be talking about in a video in the future. There's some branding conversations around the league. There's like I wouldn't be surprised if broadcast sees some changes based off of like people pretty critical of them this year. I'm hearing somebody told me this week, a person at a team, I did not expect there to be very many changes in the offseason, but this person said it was the craziest offseason they've been a part of in a lot of years in the LCS. So I do think like 2021 will feel a lot different than perhaps the last several years have been, and Bjergsen departing as a player is probably a huge part of that too. So we'll see.
I hope that crazy turnover though does translate to more than just like the shuffle, because when 2018 happened and there are all these new VC funded orgs, I forget what it was, but I think like 45 players were on new teams. It was something absolutely insane. Or maybe it was like there was 40 players on new teams and only 3 were on the teams that they were on before, and then there were like 7 new players or something. It was something insane like that. And I hope if we do have a big shuffle again this year, there's more fresh faces. I definitely feel like there's times where I'm looking at my rookie of the year voting and I'm like, I have 2 people to pick from. I hope there's more opportunities given to the younger players with this feeling like we're moving into a new era.
Yeah. Anyway, Magi, thank you for the call, even if you were randomly typing in the chat during it. Is there anything that you want to say on the way out?
I'd like to give a shout out to Alienware and Travis and Mark for being awesome.
Good
I
save.
love the show, watch it all the time, and also shout out to my own podcast, Everything LCS. We also do coverage. Thank you.
We do the cutoff now when people start shouting out their own podcasts. It's a new policy. He saved himself with a shout out to us and the sponsor plug, but then he lost me with the self plug. Mark, are you muted for some reason?
No, I'm not. Am I
Okay.
muted?
I
think my cat jumped into one of the hampers and I missed it. I don't know if Twitch chat saw it, but I think he's in there right now. My other cat's like, "What's going on?"
Anyway, you want to?
I'll go pull the next caller and I'll go see what's up with
Okay.
There's a cat in my hamper. Let's see.
Okay. Twitch chat reacting to a whole lot of crazy stuff. What a weird episode we have tonight. All right, Mark grabbing the next caller. By the way, shout out to some subs. Thank you to Something for Kobe. I can't repeat it, for 14 months. Your boy Graf, 2 years. Kylo Zen, Yagork, 11. OPTSM fan gifted a sub to Invert. We got KingEvander here. King, where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm calling from my apartment in Virginia.
Your apartment in Virginia.
Yes, sir.
What do you want to talk about on the show?
So with Bjergsen's retirement and with players like Faker, Perkz, Jankos most likely being at the later part of their career, I think we're approaching a new era for the scene. And I think this is exciting and a little bit scary for the scene. And I think League looks a lot different now than it did when players like Hotshot, Captain Jack, Rapid Star, and Alex Edge played. I think this is a good opportunity for the scene to be revitalized, but I think there's probably going to be some growing pains along with that.
I think the thing I wanted to focus on more with this take was, I don't know if people saw the Doinby thing, but about a number of players retiring in the coming years. And he was talking about like a lot of it comes down to fire versus performance and some of that stuff. Sorry, I think this is a little more similar than the previous take than I initially thought when I pulled it. But I'm not sure about Perkz, but players like like Reckless seems to be having fine motivation. You know, I don't think he's slumping at all. But you know, when you look at the Fakers, the Rulers, some of these other players who have cemented themselves. No, Doinby didn't retire. He was talking about people retiring. And how he
Dornby
said,
retiring confirmed on Hotline League.
nope. I think the thing that was most interesting was, you know, he was saying that like, and Doublelift kind of confirmed this with one of his streams talking about it as well, was like Bjergsen was looking between seasons to retire already, between spring and summer, and then decided not to.
Yeah,
So
I think Bjerg said that, I think, in his video.
Oh yeah, I think maybe it was in that. Either way, it wasn't tied to the 0-6 at Worlds. It sounds like it was going to happen regardless anyways. And he was and Doinby was talking about how like no one retires because of a bad performance. You know, it's usually because you are feeling it in other ways, like you're not ready to commit to that level anymore that you know is required, and you step away for that reason. And so I think that's really interesting about like the fire that's needed to compete still. And I don't think Bjergsen was unmotivated, but just like was starting to think about things differently, it seems like.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think he's trying to look more long term for his career now. I think what also is really interesting is that when we get a lot of these players that have been in the scene for a while starting to phase out of the scene, like I think we're in now, I think that couples really well with how new players come into the scene. So for example, like, you know, at the beginning of League of Legends as an esport, we had basically just pulling solo queue teams. And then, you know, we had sister teams and relegation, and now we have the franchised system with the academy teams. And I think maybe this is an opportunity for that to be shaken up and looked at and maybe improved upon to bring in new talent.
I mean, I'm curious what changes we'll see to the challenger side. I mean, like, or the academy and amateur side. I do wonder if we'll be able to pull some like exciting OCE imports now that unfortunately that league has gone under, no pun intended. And so I don't know, we're gonna have to see, but my only concern is I really hope that we actually do have talent to replace these guys, because I think it is really not great for North America when what we have, I don't know the stat exactly, I'm going to paraphrase this so I could be completely wrong, please somebody go investigate it, but I think we had like, our players had been on average playing for twice as long as like any of the other regions at Worlds or something insane.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Danan in chat was memeing this. He didn't say it, but he was typing it. He said like there's about 20 players who should retire and become coaches before Bjergsen. You know, like I think there's a number of positions that we should see. And Doinby was talking about how like when you look at the other regions and leagues, there's all their best players are like 17, 18, 19, 20. Like Bin is 17, I think, or maybe 18. I forget what he turned. He's going to fucking World Finals, you know? And like we always talk about like, oh, we didn't have stage experience, this and that. It's like fucking these guys in TES versus Suning, that was 7 of their players' first international tournament, or at least Worlds. It was Sword Art, Karsa, and one other player, Jackie Love, were the only players, you know, like the experience excuse and these kinds of things. I mean, like I'm hopeful to see more turnover as well. And I know I always said that North America doesn't have like the deepest talent pool, but like with the OS people, and we have some, you know, there's definitely some more turnover I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I definitely think we need to look at, as a region, we need to look at developing new players rather than just swapping players and, you know, putting players that are in the league in the academy team and then bringing them back up a split later.
I mean, that's definitely true, but Bjergsen doesn't need to retire for us to stop recycling players who are getting 9th and 10th place consistently.
It's true.
Anyway, King, is there anything you want to say before we move on to the next caller?
No, thanks for having me on.
Have a good one. So, Mark, I'm going to do a quick Alienware plug, and then do you want to switch? I know you have one more person in the waiting room. I don't know if that was stuck up.
They're not really TSM. They're more TL and off-season stuff.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Because that's what I wanted to do is pivot. Oh, man, you and I are so great at doing this. 146 episodes in, we finally figured it out. Anyway, shout out to Alienware. We're going to talk about them right now. So behind me, I have a computer and in it is a 3080, an RTX 3080. Beautiful computer, really excited. You can go check them out at alienware.com/Travis. Fantastic NVIDIA technology inside of them. Mark just recently got his, which is very exciting. I actually unboxed this on stream. If you're a sub, you can go check the video out. But I'm trying to find somebody who can do a quick edit on it so I can make a fun little clip for Twitter on it. But Alienware's just been supplying us with so much fantastic stuff over the years, and I really do appreciate them. And there's so many people who have been tweeting me, messaging me, telling me I got this. There was somebody on Reddit, I think it was today or yesterday, that was like, hey, just want to let you know I got this Alienware computer, super nice of, they're super great. Somebody else DM'd me about another one. Like, a lot of people have been doing that, and I just want to say I really appreciate everybody who goes to alienware.com/Travis and uses code Travis10off Q3. And by the way, for some reason, because that code might go out of really soon, you can always try Travis10off Q4 if you're trying that code, it doesn't work. But they got some great deals going on right now. I think they were doing a pre-Black Friday thing. You can go check it out over there. But thank you so much to Alienware for that, and really excited to have this 3080. And pretty soon, by the way, I'm talking to them about trying to get a 3090, an Aurora with a 3090 in it. That's gonna be spicy. Thanks so much to Alienware for sponsoring the show. Mark, you want to go grab the next caller?
Yeah.
Pluto7443 says to Dr. Manhattan, 2 mods in my chat, when are we going to petition for mods getting Alienware computers? Maybe when the mods start doing a great job. All right. I would say right now they're at about average. All right. It's not a bad idea though. I wonder if we could do like a mod raffle at some point in time to see if somebody can get something. I don't know, maybe at some point in time when I have some extra Alienware budget. Sherman says I'm at 110%. What does that mean? Oh, like you're working at 110% as a mod? I don't even know what's going on. Twitch chat now all wants to become mods. Trues is welcome to the show. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from the Jersey Shore.
From Jersey? Is this our second Jersey caller of the night?
Is it?
I
I think so, yeah.
All right. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the TL roster rumors, and if they're true, then the rest of the league really needs to level up to contest them because their roster's looking insane. The rumors that I'm referring to are the rumors where Alfari is going to be their top winner, which I think is confirmed now, and Santorin.
I mean, nothing is technically confirmed, but it's been corroborated by ESPN. Yes.
Yeah, and Santorin being their jungler, which isn't confirmed or isn't corroborated, and that roster is pretty strong for NA standards, if that makes sense. And I'm hoping that teams like EG and TSM and C9, like these teams that are on the higher end of talent, can level up to contest these teams in the long run, because I really don't want like a G2 situation with NA where TL is just winning everything uncontested.
I mean, it's a little early to be. Mark, do you think like if they get this lineup that they'll just win everything uncontested?
Assuming that there's no like massive adjustment issues in terms of like these players just can't play together kind of problem. I don't see
can't
why
get his visa for the first 4 months of the year.
Yeah, Alfari tactile decides doesn't want to play solo queue for 3 months and boot camps in China and doesn't actually boot camp at all. And then the team doesn't do any preseason practice. Then
that's a weird. Where are you getting that from?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm referencing there. But assuming that's not the case and they all play well together. Yeah, because I don't really see any right now. I mean, maybe C9 bounces back and Fudge is a beast, and they can play at the level that they were playing through most of this year. Then it's more contested. But TSM is going to be weaker, I think. We don't really know what's going to happen. I just imagine that the loss of Bjergsen will be a big detriment, and it'll be hard to replace him and get on that same level. If Amazing is leaving FlyQuest, they'll need to find someone to plug that gap.
Santorin.
God, I'm so bad with names tonight. Santorin is leaving.
Oh my god. How did you get amazing on that one?
I was doing this on the dive actually too.
I mean,
don't know
he
what's the
is
name of putting amazing and Santorin is the same. I mean, we're both TSM junglers.
Yes.
All that, yeah. But like,
that's a throwback.
I've never I don't know what it was the last week, but I've never referred to those players as the same person until this week for some reason. Anyways, Santorin making FlyQuest weaker when I feel like he was the best player arguably in that team. You know, it's a situation where it feels like TL could become another like super team, and without C9, it's hard to know without knowing what else is going to go on in the offseason right now. No one else has that level of hype around their moves.
By the way, Twitch chat want to know who Alfari is because some we have a very, very North American audience. So, for instance, somebody in Twitch chat even saying Alfari is worse than Impact. By the way, so I'm kind of curious, Mark, if you want to explain who Alfari is.
Alfari is a European top laner. People believe he's very good. I feel like he was not a good team last year, though. So if you were watching playoffs or Worlds and you don't really pay any attention to EU, you might not have heard his name because he's not on one of the top teams right now.
Is he considered the best in that league? I feel like I've heard some people say that.
Yeah, I think for the most part, it's a role that I know a lot of European fans feel like is their weakest. With just outside Wunder, who's I would say Wunder is still probably the best. Alfari is probably the second best. He I think is really, really good. There's some question about, is it just laning dominance or what? Because there's sometimes players who have like just great stuff, but yeah. And then Bwipo is obviously good. There's some other good top laners. But for the most part, Alfari is considered one of the best top laners in Europe. You can debate exactly what his ranking is.
So, Cruz, you're saying you're worried that they'll just dominate.
Yeah, I mean, the sum of their parts is, like looking like it's going to be definitely a top 2 team, if not the best team. And I'm just worried that, like teams can't get to this level of firepower on this off season. Maybe next season they can get to that level, but it needs to be like a C9 or a TSM or an EG type team to contest these guys, and I don't see any of them doing it this season.
I am very curious to know what C9's lineup is going to end up being, because I don't know, it feels like they have the potential to be very, very good if they brought in some crazy mid laner top lane situation. I don't know. So I'm just like fascinated to see what they craft. But I don't know, Mark, when you hear that TL lineup, do you think it's just going to be really hard for anybody to get close to that?
Yeah, I already said so. I think outside C9, I haven't heard anything that would be close so far. I mean, there's a couple other moves that could be made. We don't know what's going to go on with TSM and whatnot. But I don't think so. Golden Guardians, Danan in the chat, spamming question mark pings.
I mean,
you could
Danan, who are you going to get? Danan, who are you going to get for EG that will for C9 that'll be that Golden Guardians? Mark's contagion is getting to me.
Wait,
now
but I actually said the right team for him.
No, I said
I know you fucked up, but you can't blame me.
Yeah.
After I literally said the right name.
I know. I'm saying whatever.
I know what you're saying, and I'm saying it's a cop out.
We're all coming off of crazy hours and working and stuff. Well, Trues, I don't know if it's going to be the case, but I think it is a worthy point to bring up that if TL is able to bring that roster together, it's going to be there's going to be a lot of pressure on other teams to be able to find anyone that can contest, assuming that those players all work together in the way that they're supposed to. So,
can I clarify one thing though?
Sure.
For why I was mentioning EG is that they're rumored to get, there's tons of rumors flying around, but they're rumored to get like a few different players from EU, from Korea, and all that kind of stuff.
We can only have 2.
Money. Yeah, they do have the money, so that's why I threw their name in there.
Who are they rumored to get?
I mean, the Chovy rumor.
So the Chovy thing I can kill.
Yeah,
I can tell you that
I'm-
EG will not be signing Chovy fairly confidently.
I'm just saying that they have the money to pull some of these things off. So, and they have some base talent to go off. So, that's why I included their name in there.
Fair enough. We'll have to see. I mean, I do think it's an exciting offseason because we're going to see what all these teams can do. Truce, thank you so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out before we move on to the next caller?
No, that's it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Have a good one. All right. Before we go, who are we talking to next? Let's see. We got Anero. Thank you for the 33 months. Trey, thank you for the prime. Shiny Bisharp. Stormvault, your boy Graph. I think I got your boy Graph, but 2 years. I'll shout you out twice. We got Art Vandalay. Is that your name? No, it's just fucking Bluejay because he's got the same goddamn thing.
That was great.
What,
What's up, guys?
Bluejay?
How you doing, man?
Is Art Vandalay a Bluejay? What are those things called when you scramble?
No, don't tell me you don't watch Seinfeld, man.
Oh no, I don't watch Seinfeld. That
Neither
show
do you guys?
has been off the air for like 20 years. Anyway,
Yeah,
what
you're
do you
old
want?
enough, though, aren't you?
What do you want to talk about on the show?
Okay, my take. I worded it weird this time. I don't know why I did this. Anyways, my take is I just lost it. What the hell? Okay, sorry.
You
If
don't
the
even know why you're
off-season-
calling in.
If the off-season rumors surrounding Dig are true, they're losing the off-season, and it's more of a Sneaky and Johnsun take. I don't think that they should be getting rid of Johnsun.
So
And
yeah,
even
go
though
ahead.
I'm really
Say what
excited,
the rumor is because not everybody is. Informed on it.
So the rumor, as per Travis Gafford, the YouTuber's video,
Oh, great.
is that
Love
Sneaky
to
will
have you
be
on.
going to Dignitas.
Yes. So the rumor is Sneaky and Dignitas are talking, and that is the most likely place for him to go. It is.
Yeah.
We need to be it's really important that people understand some of these things. That oftentimes, like, I will say, hey, these people are talking. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have agreed to terms, and everything can kind of change, right? So, for instance, if a team really wanted to get Johnsun, and then they weren't able to get him because he goes someplace else, maybe suddenly that team is really interested in talking to Sneaky or something like that. So things do change frequently. But last we heard, Sneaky was likely to go to Dig. And you're suggesting that means that they are losing the offseason?
Yeah, and that might be a little bit extreme. I guess the main point, that's why I said I don't know why I worded it this way, but I guess what I do want to say is that I think it is a mistake to let go of Johnsun and put in Sneaky. I think that it is a unnecessary risk. Even though I think it's really exciting that Sneaky's coming back, and I'm really happy about that, I just think that it's much better to keep Johnsun if you want to have more long-term success.
I don't know. I feel like Dignitas is the poster child for good long-term decisions.
Haha. That's sarcasm,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Uh,
I can go on a little bit more if you want me to. I got a few.
Travis,
talking
do you
points.
want him to or no?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
So I guess one of the things that I was thinking of is like, why did you trade for Johnsun if I think that what happened this last year is one of the best case scenarios. Like, you had a new young rookie come in and actually perform really, really well. So if this isn't enough to want to keep him, what was, and why did you really trade for him, I guess is what I'm kind of wondering. And I'm also like kind of confused as to what Dignitas is trying to do. Like, we can meme on the Hooney thing, but like, clearly they were spenders at that point. And now the next year they're sellers. Like, I don't know what this team is trying to do, and I don't know what kind of identity they're going for, and it's just a little confusing.
Well, I think how do I put this?
Say it, and then we'll fix. Well, it's just fire it out there, and then we can shape it down. You know, we gotta have something to work with,
Yeah.
so that we can pare it down. So just give us the raw take, and if it's too spicy, we'll tone it down. We'll cut the flavor a little bit.
So this is pure speculation. But if you are a team who spent a lot of money in the previous year and you did not make Worlds and you were pretty far from it, and you hear rumors of like TL building this like super team and all this stuff, maybe there's a world where you just decide to make the play to make like a popular team that has a chance of popping off rather than making a team that is designed to
Delta Fox.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not okay. I mean, I think if they were going Delta Fox, like they wouldn't have kept Dardoch, because while Dardoch is like somewhat popular, he doesn't really have. I think you'd sign like Meteos or somebody like that, right?
No, you're trying to create. Think of how good the docu-series will be when he's arguing with Skara about mid jungle 2v2s.
Oh, they're gonna sign Skara too. That's
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
your
yeah.
mid laner in this scenario. Mark leaking Skara to dig. They're bringing him back.
Actually, all of offline TV is going to dig. They're just rebranding
Toast is gonna play support.
on Facebook.
Oh Jesus. So on Facebook. Anyway, I think there's a world like okay. I mean, Mark, you're more of the traditional sports fan, so you can tell me if I'm wrong. But like,
Love to.
I would guess that you probably will eventually see 3 types of teams in the LCS. You will see the teams that are like, we're going to spend big to try to go to Worlds. We will see teams that are like, we're going to be all about developing talent, and maybe there's a world where that developed talent really allows us to go to Worlds, but if not, we'll be able to sell them to Steve for like millions of dollars, or these other teams. The teams in the first category. And I think there's the teams that are going to be like, hey, we want to do well, but we also want to build a following, and we're going to balance these things against us. And yes, I know for the 500th time that winning is a great way to get fans. But I do think like I could see Dig looking at Sneaky and being like, yeah, he's like, I don't think Sneaky's bad by any means. Like that's an important thing to note.
Right.
Much like Art Vandalay says, I think there's a world where when it would be pretty easy to argue like, hey, maybe you should be keeping Johnsun, your rookie who looks like he's going to have a long career ahead of him, rather than bringing Sneaky back. But I think there's a world where like Dig looks and they're like, hey, we can get Sneaky, we can sell Johnsun, use that money to pay Sneaky, because guess what, they don't have a buyout for Sneaky, or to my understanding at least, and then we can use that money from the buyout from the Johnsun thing to fund the whole Sneaky salary, and people will like us because we'll have Sneaky on our team, and he'll get a ton of Twitch impressions that we can sell to Verizon because they have a big sponsorship with Verizon.
5G.
Oh,
God,
I
hate
have.
those ads.
a
I was gonna
couple
say.
of- oh, go ahead.
I was gonna like the positive spin is that they're freeing Johnsun from that, so he
Okay.
can go and have a successful
That's
career.
That's not bad.
That's my
Dignitas,
positive spin on
the
it.
charitable team. They're like,
I'm
look,
just
we
trying to put a positive spin.
we
Listen, I
don't
don't want
deserve you, Johnsun.
I don't want the flame of the org to get caught up with like Sneaky Flame, because who knows how Sneaky's form is going to be when he comes back. He's
Yeah.
traditionally done extremely well. This is not about Sneaky's performance. It's like, even if you get Sneaky, that team has so many other pieces that they need to get to become a really competitive team. And so I think for myself and a lot of people, it's like, hey, if you're not going to be competitive, you should be fostering your younger talent to try and find
Yes.
the pieces to then become competitive, instead of giving away one of the pieces that we think you have for a team, for a player who probably is in a win now mentality, but then you're not going to be able to win now. So like, it's a mismatch of vision. Not like if Sneaky came back to, I don't know, a team that felt like they were just missing a piece or two, I would have the same reaction. Like, I don't know, like, it's crazy world. Sneaky goes to FlyQuest. Not like I think Turtle's bad either, but like, that's something where I'm probably not going to be as critical if they think Sneaky's an upgrade, because at least that team had pieces and were close or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas Dig was one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah, I want to be really clear here. Like, we are not trying to say Sneaky is bad by any means.
No, of course not.
Just to reiterate what Mark was just saying, I want to hop on that bandwagon.
I said it. You can't say it.
I said it first. Anyway, there's some people in chat, by the way, and I saw this also in my YouTube video where I suggested Sneaky was going to Dig. Saying like, oh, Sneaky won't join another team because he has shares in C9. I would tell you to go watch the interview I literally did with Sneaky like 2 months ago, in which he said he will be joining a team next year. So like he said it himself.
And they were, unless I'm mistaken, C9 was fined for doing that, for having all their players with by paying them in.
Yeah,
in
Sneaky
stock.
was able to retain it though.
Oh, was he?
Oh,
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the resolution of it was really weird. I don't know. It was really weird.
Let's not get into
We're gonna
it.
get
think-
more conflict of interest talk.
I think the players had the option to turn their equity into cash, and I don't think that they did. But I think now he will be able to turn it into cash as part of his ability to join another team. I don't know the details. It's complicated, and Riot has not been. I mean, you can go look at the way they put the ruling out there for information on it, but it's not like we're going to know what entirely happens at this point in time. Anyway, go ahead.
The one thing that I wanted to that you made a point earlier, Travis, that kind of scares me, but I think it's a good point. Is like what kind of teams want to be like basically after FlyQuest, what we saw from FlyQuest this year. It makes me nervous. Like, do you think teams are just afraid that if they go for making worlds, that they're just going to turn into the next FlyQuest, where they have a great roster, they make worlds once, and then all their good players just get vacuumed by Team Liquid? Like, do you think teams are just too afraid to go for it now?
No. I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of teams go for it next year. Like, I think the fact that EG and 100T are rumored to be in a giant bidding war for Johnsun, and that, 100T is also trying to get convince GG to let them get FBI. Like, and I've heard those buyouts are supposed to be pretty big. At least the Johnsun one. I'm trying to remember if whatever. Anyway, I've just heard
where Licorice is going. Like, you could build a team in theory that's pretty good. And as much as I was saying, I feel like TL is going to be the clear favorites. I also said I don't know what the other teams are going to be. So if you tell me that there's some lineup that comes about that's like somehow FBI, Licorice, I don't know, some mid laner, I don't know, pull one together somehow. Chovy comes over.
Yeah.
What about Power of Evil? He's apparently that team's blowing up. PoE could go on a team.
Oh, I actually didn't realize PoE was even a free agent. I haven't really looked too.
I don't know if he.
I don't think he is a free agent.
That FlyQuest is blowing up, which again is just more.
Yeah, I don't think he is a free agent, but I think there's a good chance that he's able to go to another team.
Okay.
I mean, Trisha doesn't seem the type to keep people in contract hell or contract prison.
I don't know. Strong arm Trisha is just gonna.
She's like poison ivy. He starts to leave, and the vines just grow up from the floor, and
no one leaves.
You're
this
going
way.
nowhere.
Yeah.
Mother Nature is keeping you here. No. Anyway, yeah. I think it's really sad if the FlyQuest stuff implodes, and then they have a really tough time on the other side of it. But I don't think there's any evidence that like the FlyQuest scenario is going to discourage other people from making plays for it. I think the Dignitas situation this year might convince Dignitas to not make plays for that is the bigger thing. Anyway, Bluejay, thanks for the call. Anything you want to say before we move on to the next caller?
Just congrats on the 200K. I know that's something you're really looking forward to, so that's pretty sweet. And
thank you.
Someone DM'd me as well saying, "Can you remind Travis about the rumor he said he would tell us?" So there, I don't know what that means. I wasn't. I missed something.
But, little rumor. I was going to give a little off-season rumor. Well, okay. I'll just say it since you're here. I've heard that Immortals is looking at 2 OCE players to add to their new roster.
Ooh, do we know which ones?
How about someone on that list that Spawn said from a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I think there are 2 players that have not come. It's not Ryoma or whatever. It's 2 players that would be coming over from OCE. I don't have their names in front of me right now, to be honest. But I think that would be interesting for sure. I mean, I actually think it'd be super fun to just see one of these teams be like, look, you could probably get those OCE players for pretty little money right now. Just run a 5-man Australian team.
That'd be sick, dude. I just want an OC.
That would be cool. So sick. That would be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
All right, I'm out of here. You guys can go next.
Yeah. Catch you later.
Thanks for the permission.
See you guys.
You want to grab the next caller? Tidy Cats Marketing, thank you for the 6 months. Thank you for the prime. Whistle Britches, thank you for the 14 months. Plumbus, thank you for the sub. Enero, I already shout out Enero, thank you. This Papa Smithies in chat says awkward face. What does that mean? Or is it thinking face? I can't tell. It's actually that emoji so tiny.
Here
I
we go.
can't tell if it's thinking face or awkward face. Can you, Papa Smithy put an emote in the chat?
That's
Can
a,
you see?
That's a thinking face.
Oh, a thinking face. Okay. Maybe they're gonna run Papa Smithy in their team. They're gonna buy
Papa
up Papa
Smithy becomes the coach, the GM, mid laner.
Yes. They learned a lot from TSM. Slackercat, where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm calling from the Bay Area.
Oh, sorry. What'd you say one more time?
Sorry, calling from the Bay Area.
Bay Area. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So I want to talk about how I think in this world, even if Damwon win, that it doesn't change like the region ranking.
Oh,
being,
wait,
like,
Worlds
LPL
is still
EU.
happening.
I know. This is the only caller we have about it, so I'm going to give all my thoughts, regardless if they're related to the take or not.
I'm about it.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, North America, that's been over for a while, so it's hard to keep
And
track of
it's
these
like,
things.
holy shit, this is the time of the year where people are the most active. Let's just drop all our news now.
Yeah. So, sorry. You said about Damwon. Continue.
Yeah, so I think obviously looking at like semis and quarters, like Damwon is looking insane, and especially after the kind of upset with like Suning and top, that people are probably really on the Damwon train. But I think that it's a case of like Damwon is like #1 from Korea by like a long shot, which wouldn't move up the region as a whole to like overtake EU. Because I think like Fnatic and G2 performed much better than like Gen G and DRX. And I think their efforts combined makes their region better than LCK, just based on Damwon.
So you're saying the LPL EU LCK 1, 2, 3 ranking stays the same no matter what Damwon does this tournament?
Yes.
Oh, that's an interesting take. And is there much evidence that LCK or Damwon should be better than the LPL teams? Probably not, because they've been split on other sides of the bracket.
I mean, you can see like Damwon beating up JDG, right, in their group, but
yeah, it's a really interesting take, because traditionally people talk about the strength of a region mostly off their best team. If a team gets knocked out in third, but another team of theirs wins. If someone gets knocked out in group, excuse me, but then another one of their seeds wins Worlds, you kind of just say they were the best that year.
But the third, they beat. Yeah, sorry, continue.
I was gonna say I'm not sure I agree 100% with the take, because I think you could use that logic then a little bit for G2 in the past, that a lot of the accomplishments of EU were mostly G2. And not that Fnatic wasn't good, but it's not like they were doing more than LCK teams really did this year. I think obviously 2018 is a big exception. 2018 was the Fnatic G2 year where they were both great, but then 2019, where they continued on a lot of that success, it was mostly G2. And in the same way, like the past 2 years, I think LCK has been #1 in all 3 of their region, their seeds groups, if I'm not mistaken. So for 6 out of 6, they've been first in their group. Or second, I guess, because DRX got second behind top. So they always get out of their groups, I think, pretty much, aside for the 2018 thing.
Listen.
So in 2018, I think you have a great case for this, but it's pretty close. Best of 5. Fnatic put up a great fight. I think Fnatic probably could have taken down some of the LEC teams this year. LPL, we have to see based off the finals what happens, but they had 2 teams in semis. I think it's very close.
I mean, Fnatic could have taken some of the LCK.
What did I say? LEC?
You said LEC.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Sorry, Fnatic probably could have taken some of the LCK, but we don't know for sure.
I mean, I'm with the caller. LGD could crush Damwon in a best of 5. All right, LPL greater than LCK.
I'm just saying, Mad Lions and Rogue didn't give me much confidence in EU. I mean, we're talking a lot about G2 and Fnatic, but when we talk DRX and Gen G,
sure,
I'm starting to look at those other 2 teams, and I'm like, hey, I don't know.
I think another thing I consider is like, I mean, I know it's like, I guess, a split ago, but like the mid-season invitational between, which nobody really talks about actually, between like LPL and LCK, where like
North America.
top 3 teams. Oh, sure, that's fair. But like the top 3 teams out of that tournament were all LPL. Like the finals was just JDG versus top, and LCK was like not even involved. And I mean, I guess things have changed since then. Obviously, Damwon's insane, but I think if you do another one of those after Worlds, I think it's still going to be like LPL over LCK.
I mean, a lot
Yeah.
of things change. Right around that time, Cloud9 was looking like the most dominant team North America's ever had, and they didn't even make Worlds. So
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
mean,
things change.
Suning's playing a lot better than they did, for most of the year. They've gotten a lot better. So like, it's never stagnant. Not like anyone stays at the same level, but I think more or less the caller has a fair point in that Damwon might be a bit of an exception for the LCK. But I think they've had a decent year overall. The mid-season cup or whatever it's called, notwithstanding.
And I don't mean to say like LCK is like bad. I think it's like very close. I just think like
But you think Suning is going to win in the finals?
no, I actually am on the Damwon train. Like I'm for sure.
Oh.
Like after what they did to G2, I think like the Suning top. I think
Did I
top
misunderstand
really,
your
fell
take?
off. Sorry. So like what I'm saying is even if Damwon win everything, I still think that as a region, LPL is better than LCK.
Okay. Sorry. So you
Which I
think
know that's
Damwon
like
will
a hot
win,
take.
but that will not prove that LCK is better than LPL.
Yeah.
Yes, he's saying top finished the group higher than DRX. Suning beat
Yeah.
top in the best of 5.
So
Suning placed over
That's
G2.
a great thing to tell like LPL fans, or for LPL fans to tell themselves, right? Because in
Yeah.
your scenario, there's no world in which LPL is not the best region, even if they're about to lose the finals.
The more we've talked about this take, the more I'm like, I don't know if I want. Like, if Damwon win Worlds, they're probably.
What if they humiliate
LCK deserves a little
Suning?
bit.
I mean, okay, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I also think if you look at like LPL every year is sending like a different group of people, and I think like as a region, there are so many like new, incredible players from LPL that like they are on like the start of a come up with just like an insane base of people. And like if you look at LCK, it's mostly like kind of old talent. Like we have like Ruler, BDD, like Chovy, like a lot of those players are not like
I mean,
old, they're not like gonna retire. But
Chovy's been playing for like what, three or 4 years tops.
yeah, but then you have
Yeah,
like
North America,
Juanfang,
that would
who's,
make
like,
him super young, but in
Yeah,
other
but, like,
regions, that makes him pretty.
Players like Knight have been playing for quite a while. Like there's a lot of like 19-year-olds who have been around for 3 years in the LCK that you don't realize that they're actually not old. They just like they just got
that's fair.
discovered right away. So like in that sense, players in North America who are rookies would have been in the challenger scene for like 3 or 4 years, like tactical and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas rookies in the LEC, or well, I guess LEC applies too, but like LCK, it's like, oh fuck, that's their first year. That's actually their first year. Like, and same with LPL, like, oh shit, they're actually so young. So like Chovy, Nuggery, Showmaker, like we've been talking about them now for 3 years if you go all the way back to 2018 interview with Reckless and whatnot, but they're actually still super young.
Yeah, but I mean, then like I guess my point is like that, like then you have like Juanfeng and like SOFM who like to me just came out of nowhere and are like obliterating this tournament, and maybe that's just Suning, but like
SOFM's been around forever, dude.
but I mean he hasn't been like I don't think he's been talked about as like he is the best jungler ever until like this year. Like he is growing, and I think I don't know. Maybe I'm just an LPL fanboy. That might be me, but like
Sounds
I mean,
like it.
if you're an LPL fanboy, you should have known that people have been hyping SOFM for quite a while. Same with like Knight, like Knight's been talked about forever, even though this is his first Worlds and stuff. Like, I would say, listen, I think the LPL is the deepest region for sure. Best is, you have to define what best means. Is it deepest? Is best deepest? Is it that your your region's gonna produce the best team? I'm leaning a little bit more towards the latter as this call has gone on. I think Damwon and LCK deserve some respect if they're able to pull this one out. All their teams got out of groups. They all had decent showings. Yeah, Damwon's gonna win to move on, but like, hey, if 3 of your teams get out of groups, 2 in the number 1 spot, and then 1 wins World Finals, you're probably the best region that year.
Hey, thank you so much, Slacker, for the call. Anything you want to say before we move on to a quick break?
I'm actually gonna shout out like OPL, like Spawn, like Nick Boy, and everybody. Like this year, I was unemployed due to COVID for a bit, and watching them at night was a great thing in my life. And I'm so sad to see them go. So shout out to them.
Well, thank you so much for the call. And
You should
we'll
tell message Spawn that if you haven't yet. I'm sure he'd appreciate it. He just had another kid, so I'm sure
I will.
he will appreciate any nice messages coming his way.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Well, yeah. Thanks so much for the call. On to a quick break to talk about Draftbuff. Now, unfortunately, I have some unfortunate news, everyone. It is too late to join the Draftbuff competition for finals because, unfortunately, it was semifinals and finals. But I've got some good news for you, which is that you can download the app and get ready for spring. Because now is a good time, as we're hearing all these roster rumors, to theorize on what your super team would be like and build it out for spring split whenever the split begins. So I think that's the cool thing that you can do with Draftbuff. And I don't know if Riot's doing All-Stars this year, but maybe they'll do something around All-Stars too. Either way, joining up for it is super, super fun, super good. Go do it. There's a link in the description. You can download the app. It really helps me. And I don't know, it's been great to work with Draftbuff for Worlds, and I really appreciate it. I know we've had some smaller groups compared to Summer, which basically tells me North America maybe not paying as much attention to Worlds, especially once our teams went out. But we've been doing some really cool stuff with them, and I'm hoping to continue to do some great stuff with them in spring. So I just want to make sure everybody remembers Draftbuff as they've got such cool competitions going. By the way, the server's completely free, and maybe this is the first time you've heard me talk about it. I'm kind of, a lot of people have been hearing me talk about it for a lot of different weeks now. Just in case you don't know what they are, you can draft your own teams, participate in fun big group draft royales against like hundreds of other people, and mine, or they did some stuff with Frosk or Yamato this year at Worlds, but you can do like smaller groups with your friends. It's just a great fun product for people who want to build out their own teams and envision their own, I don't know, be your own GM of a team and come spring finals, or sorry, for spring split. It's gonna be fantastic. So either way, thank you so much to Draftbuff for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate them. They sponsored our Worlds coverage, and like, I love it when people shout out my sponsors, but I just want to make sure everybody knows that they were really great and contributing towards our Worlds stuff this year. So I really appreciate them. They've been a great partner to work with, and we're looking forward to doing more stuff with them in 2021, hopefully, and hopefully you all are as well. Thank you so much to Draftbuff. Oh, and by the way, if you want to join the Draftbuff chat, tell them a little bit about your experiences. Maybe give them some feedback. Maybe there's something you would have liked to have seen differently. We've got one in the Discord that you can join up. Just go chat with them, and they usually pop in and say hi. Anyway, we are moving on to
2 more callers. Here we
go. 2 more callers, yeah. Mark trash talking me in the Twitch chat while I'm doing my ads. Very rude. Yeah, by the way, go tweet at Draftbuff. I saw some people mentioning this. Go tweet at Draftbuff. They are on Twitter. You can tell them thank you for sponsoring it. I would love to have that happen. It's always really nice when you guys let people know about that. Also, any Prime gamers in the chat who want to send some subs. We're at 1490 subscribers, which is, I don't know if I've been this, I was about to say, I don't know if I've been this high since last year, but I mean this high on subscribers since last year. Noblesse is here. Noblesse, where are you calling from?
Hello, I am calling from Burlington, Ontario.
Nice. What you want to give us your take?
Yeah, I guess I will. My take is that we've just witnessed the death of a big franchise player here, and with that, it feels like North America is moving away from big franchise players, and I think that's hurting the viewing experience for viewers. It's hurting the product, and I think it's driving a lot of people to other regions or regions that have more success, because if there aren't narratives or players or orgs they can get invested in here, they're going to start watching the regions that are winning.
You're saying there's maybe too much movement in the LCS that you can't really have a player, because when you say franchise player, people might not know what you mean. It's like a player who really is so intrinsically tied to a team or franchise that they sort of become part of that identity. Yes.
Right.
So I mean, you can look at in recent years, Sneaky was lost. Double Lift. You can go back a little further and look at like High, for example. I think the only one we have kicking around from like the old guard is Stixay, right?
Yes, that's probably true.
And I doubt
Yeah.
I doubt many people would even consider him a franchise player because usually there's some level of stardom kind of associated with the term
Right.
franchise player, not just like, hey, you played for me for 20 years, but also like, you were one of the best. And 6A did win a championship and had that great CLG run, but it wasn't really.
He's not like an avatar for that organization in the same way that
No.
Bjergsen was or whatever. Yeah.
Or Double Lift before.
No,
Yeah.
and like that's partially due to CLG's lack of success in recent years, but he's been with them as their starting ADC since 2015, ignoring the one split where he was on the academy. So I think franchises probably really need to start investing in a player or maybe a small set of players to be a franchise piece for them. I think that was really good for the product. It made big head-to-heads much more enjoyable for people. And I mean, at the end of the day, people are watching all of this to be entertained. And if they're not going to get invested in players, which helps them get invested in orgs, then by default, people are going to start watching regions or teams or what have you that are winning. And now that we've lost Bjergsen in this role, I don't know. I don't see any teams stepping up to do that. And I want to see teams invest in that. I know you can't just like throw money at it and make someone popular on socials. It takes more than that, but it sucks. Across the pond, we're losing that too. I think it's just Reckless over there now. As like a franchise player.
I think you could call Perkz a franchise
Perkz,
player.
I think, is a franchise.
No, I guess you're right. G2 as a whole, because they've stuck together, that's kind of a good example of what it looks like when it's done right?
So part of this, I think, is because we've had so much franchise turnover. I think that's a big part of it, right? We're only 3 years into franchising. If you look at the age of a lot of these orgs, they are like they ducked out of the LCS for a while. In the case of Dignitas and Immortals, you have other ones that didn't exist 3 years ago and have had to like scramble to get themselves established when they came in, and did that in a lot of ways by grabbing like high profile talent to try to stabilize themselves. So I think it is somewhat a artifact of just the fact that like it's hard to have franchise players whenever some of your franchises haven't existed for more than 3 years.
I feel like, there's a lot of things to say on this topic. I think franchise players rarely refer to players on bad teams. Like, I guess there's like what was that player in ELO Hell in Korea that was always memed? It wasn't Score. Was it Teddy? Was it Teddy in Jin Air Prison or something? Like there's always,
looks like people are saying Teddy.
Yeah, there's always been like those kinds of like, oh, this player is trapped in ELO Hell, get him some teammates kind of thing. But outside that, I feel like usually franchise players is like on successful teams. And I think this kind of goes back to the larger topic we were having about like, there haven't really been any superstars who have joined the league who could even pick up the franchise tag title. I mean, Licorice is probably the closest and was building towards that, but that runs over already. And a lot of these big names that shuffled around have it's hard to imagine someone being a franchise player when they have so much history elsewhere already. Like, is Afro a franchise player of 100 Thieves? Or it's not Dig now, but like those players get moved around. Can they become a franchise player again if Afro is trying to become the face of Dig? Like, I don't know.
You could see if Golden Guardians has more success over the next couple of years and are able to retain closer. That's an example of somebody who I think could be a franchise player. Or if like Tactical spends most of his career with TL and does really well, that's somebody.
Yeah.
Like, there are some potentials, but it's going to take a couple of years before we get to a point where we're able to call somebody that.
Right. It's dead though for now, at least.
Core could be that in
there's
a
some
little
people
bit.
who are building that potential. I mean, Wild Turtle maybe.
Yeah. Core's been there for 2 years though and won world championships in the EU, and like he also played like a lot of franchise players got their start there, like that's where they came up. That's where they got their come up, at least. Maybe they didn't even start there, but that's when they really blew up. And so like Ruler being Genji would fit, and Faker and Perkz and some of these stuff. I don't know who it would be in NA, and like you're saying, maybe it could be Tactical. Spica, if he actually becomes TSM's jungler long term, like holy shit, there we go. Yeah, there's people are saying someday for 100 Thieves, and like maybe it's just me being like a boomer, but like I think of someday from like his time in Korea still more so than NA. He hasn't accomplished anything in NA.
What does he need to accomplish to earn it for his work here with 100 Thieves, though?
I mean,
like, what would it change
win?
What would it take to change your boomer mind on that?
I think I'd like to see him win and have more success with the org. I mean, they made one finals, they made one worlds, and then kind of.
I don't even think he's a particularly popular player in North America.
Yeah, I think people know he's great, but like, is anyone like?
Usually, people aren't like, oh yes, that franchise player in ELO Hell, which I feel like is how a lot of people feel about Someday on 100 Thieves.
They do talk about him being in ELO Hell a little bit, but. It's more like they recognize his skill more than like because what you're saying, caller, which I think I ultimately agree with, is these become faces and battles and people for the orgs to rally behind, or the fans to rally behind when Bjergsen versus High in the mid, like you knew that was a matchup you had to watch, and when Doublelift played Piglet, even or like one of these kinds of like, oh my god, matchups,
Man, remember the 2018 Bjergsen versus Doublelift games? Like, even though they weren't in the same lane, some of that stuff got really hype. And I see a lot of people commenting that, like, it's probably not good for wanting NA to level up and be better competitively. And to some extent, like, I understand. I agree with that to a point. Because you can't just pick a random player and hope that they pop off and carry a region. I understand that. But I'm talking about more from the viewing, from this being a product. At the end of the day, the LCS is trying to sell us on a product, and these teams need to be successful in order to grow. And when I look at teams that maybe aren't making a whole lot of money, and then I see how much money I think Bjergsen probably brought in for TSM, I can't help but wonder why teams aren't looking to try to copy that.
I don't think anybody's trying to copy it so much as they're just trying to find success right now. Sure. But we're running low on time, so I don't want to go too off on this tangent. But like, because we are talking about a franchise player no longer being a player for that franchise, I do think there's a short question or a little thing that a lot of people are talking about behind the scenes, which is like, how much could this end up hurting TSM's brand in the short to long term? If let's say it's, I don't know, they change out 3 of their 5 players next year, and that's like in a world where like Doublelift has tweeted that he considered retiring when Bjergsen told him it. Like, I don't have any inside information here, but if the rumors that they were looking at an AD, or he might not start or something like that end up being true, what if there's a world where like Speak as the oldie returning player to that roster? It's gonna feel really weird for TSM fans next year, and I'm very curious to see what ends up happening for that brand whenever you like. I think there's some crazy estimates out there that like 50% of LCS fans are TSM fans, and Bjerg, I think, is a big reason for that. So I'm just fascinated to find out what these next couple of years are going to look like, because especially if TSM can't come out of the gate winning, I don't know what ends up happening if those fans go elsewhere, if they stop watching. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's either they imprinted, or he imprinted those fans on TSM, or those were Bjergsen fans, not TSM fans. Yeah, it's going to be crazy to watch.
Yeah. So 2 quick things to throw in here. One, I think everyone is trying to find the next Bjergsen. To like the caller, you kind of said like they're not trying. I think everyone is, but you can't brute force them like that. Like the sheer level. We had a thing at the beginning. We're talking about the sheer level of domination. Like you have to dominate, you have to win, you have to have all the success to become Bjergsen, just become that overnight. And I don't think anyone's had that recently. With Doublelift being kind of the guy who's won everything on a veteran roster that was TL until now going to TSM and stuff. So like people haven't had the opportunity because Doublelift's still the best, and he's winning everything. So until that changes, you're not going to be able to write that kind of storyline. The other thing I was going to say is Doinby, because I've been watching all those like every time Doinby video gets posted, I have to watch it. He was talking about how weird it is hearing about how North America is because of this even mindset that you're talking about franchise player and building up fan bases through the players and these kinds of things. Because to him, he was saying in LPL and LCK, like, you just find good players and that's all you do, and you just make good players, and people become fans of teams because they're good players and they're fun to watch and they do good things. And that's why people became fans of DRX, because Chovy's just a beast. And when people were fans of Griffin, like, they didn't have any franchise players, they were just dope as hell. They were just really, really good. People wanted to watch them. And same with Demon. Like, they were a bunch of rookies. And why do people think they're so awesome to watch now? Because Showmaker and Nuggery and Canyon are all so great. Like, and he was saying the same thing about LPL. Suning with SOFM. I mean, like I said, SOFM's been around a little bit longer, but Huanfeng and Bin being super young. You know, like, these are not fucking boomer names that they hope to hold on to forever. Like, they build good rosters, they find talent, they build them up through being good. And I think that's something we've always said is the number one thing for popularity is win. Be good. People will come to you. People will watch your stream if you just won the world championship, you know? Or whatever it is. If you do some dope shit, people are going to want to watch and hear your thoughts and hear about you. And I think that is easily the best way to success, more so than trying to you're looking at the problem from the top down. Like, man, there's no franchise players. Org should try and make franchise players. And it's like, well, how about you win a bunch, and then that person will just become a franchise player.
Right.
So take the steps to win and become a good team and find talent and foster that more than try and sign Sneaky again to Dignitas to make your franchise popular. I mean,
Noblesse, thank you so much for the call. Anything you want to say before we move on to our final caller?
Yeah, real quick shout out to the Gods of Hardware, Alienware. Get yours now using promo code Travis10off.
Q3.
Oh, there we go. Cat for Kobe. Shout out to Trisha at FlyQuest for absolutely killing it with the 2020 branding. And shout out to Bjergsen. You'll be missed.
Very good. Thank you so much. Okay.
All right.
Final
Invert
caller.
is the last caller. And he was going to go back a little bit about, I don't know, he said we might flame the AD a little bit, so I'm excited.
What? Okay. Okay, we got Lickatoad, thank you for the 5 months, and Safamia, thank you for the 3 months. And yeah, thank you everyone who subbed. Appreciate it. Mark is grabbing Invert right now. Everyone, please do me a favor, stick around for 2 minutes after the show. It would be very, very much appreciated. Invert, welcome to the show. Do you want to tell everyone what it is that you do?
Yeah, I am assistant coach on the LCS side for the team that just got burned really hard.
Hashtag sick burns.
For Dignitas.
Well, why are you trying to sign Sneaky?
I will not comment on any sort of off-season rumor one way or the
Come
other.
on, Travis.
Where are you? I mean, I have to ask. Where are you calling from?
I am here in not so sunny Los Angeles.
Not so sunny Los Angeles. What do you want to talk about on the show?
I think the caller before me was on the right track in having this discussion, but I really do want to talk about how, and we're going to go back to kind of Bjerg retiring, becoming a coach, but talking about how in the long term, this is really, really bad for the financial growth and health of North America overall. You know, the caller before did kind of touch on how people are fans of players first. It's very safe to assume that Bjergsen was number 1 or number 2 in that fandom. You know, I would say even that people were fans of him more than certain entire teams.
That's actually players. Very likely.
Yeah, right. And so long term, the league has to grapple with a vacuum in that role and a vacuum in that branding opportunity and brand identity of having Bjergsen, which in turn could lead to less than ideal partnerships opportunities for the league. And as well, you know, taking into consideration everything about how the league works with respect to revenue sharing and how that breaks down could be detrimental to financial health, but potentially some teams as well. So I just wanted to expand on the previous caller's thoughts because I was thinking a lot about this as well.
So are you worried that there will be less sponsorship revenue for the league because Bjergsen retired?
I think that's a very safe assumption to have given the potential viewership drop of NALCS through Bjergsen not playing.
So here's what I will say. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
No, you go first.
Okay. for the Twitch chat and everybody listening who thinks this is wild, I don't think it is that crazy to imagine a world where, like, if there are a lot of people who are, like, if half your audience are TSM fans, and we live in a world where, as I said, like, maybe TSM's starting roster next year is, like, Spica and 4 new people, maybe a lot of people will tune out, especially in 2 years, after 2 years of our teams not making it out of groups. You know, I think there is like an argument to be had that, like, the viewership for LCS might drop next year, and if you are right, you are probably, like, really worried about this stuff. That being said, I think Invert, that I would not be worried about revenue in the short term, because I do not think, like, revenue, let's put it this way, you can sign a lot of sponsors right now based off of your 2020 viewership. And so if we lose revenue, I don't think it'll be in 2020 or even potentially 2021. I mean, if you're right, you're trying to get people to ink like 2 or 3 year deals. And whatever broadcast deal they are likely to do in this off season, I think that will also, they'll try to make it multi-year. So I think the revenue, like, the nice thing is, if you can get everybody to sign to these deals, and especially if you can make them multi-year, you have a while to try to recover from any kind of viewership drop.
Yeah, but
for sure. And this is again, I'm speaking strictly like long term.
Yeah, he said long term. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I guess. I mean, like, then we're talking about 2 to 3 years from now, and I do think that there's a good chance that, like, the league can recover from that point in time in multiple ways, right? So they can potentially find additional revenue streams that they haven't tapped yet. They can try to find, like, even, I mean, their in-game, like, monetization of this league is pretty piss poor. You know, like, there's a lot of different opportunities there. I don't know if they'll ever be able to take them, because it does feel like esports is pretty much cut off from the rest of the company. But I am less worried, I think, long term, as long as they can ink these deals a little bit longer. But if for instance Bjergsen retiring this year means that in 2022 our viewership is half of what it is now, then yeah, that would be pretty bad. Or even like three quarters.
And go ahead, Mark.
No, you go.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, and then you have to start talking about how the esports side of Riot is looking into league infrastructure, ready to have like a pipeline of the next big thing. How the league will continue to shift towards empowering the brands and identities of, you know, players and teams to be at a similar or same level to, you know, one of the memories that the previous caller kind of alluded to was like, man, wasn't it fucking cool to see the Bjergsen versus Double Lift like finals, like 2019 spring, like being able to have that star power and that ability to be really hyped for a North American match. And now maybe you don't have that opportunity during the season and during playoffs as much, and the league really has to grapple with what strategies they move forward with through empowering players that are currently in the LCS, creating that pipeline of the next big North American talent that everyone wants to see post Worlds. I just think, again, you know, that's less than talked about point with this Bjergsen story that just wanted to get everyone's thoughts on and to address.
Yeah, I think one of the things I was going to say is, I mean, I don't know how dry and analytical, like, or analytics heavy the LCS sponsorships are, but if you are, you know, using impressions and these kinds of things and whatnot, and even on the TSM side, and that can also hurt, like, you know, that their ability to spend stuff. Like, if impressions drop generally on a lot of content across the board, I would assume sponsorships would drop. So I don't think it's that crazy of a take at all. To Travis's point, if you can recover them, great. But if you can't, you know, and you're signing new contracts and pitching people with your 2021 numbers, and like you said, it's not just Bjergsen, NA not getting out of groups 2 years in a row. You know, I think the mood overall is pretty poor, and without some off-season hype, you know, or some cool things going on and some international success, you might see just lower numbers across the board. Then yeah, that would hurt financially.
And it's very reasonable in the short term too to believe that like Coach Bjergsen is going to pull people in as well as like a very short term thing. But but just on like a content level, you can't do as much with Coach Bjergsen as you can with player Bjergsen.
I mean,
I believe,
80% of the broadcast is gameplay for the most part. If I had
Exactly.
to like, put some numbers on it, cutting out the cooldown at the beginning, you know, like you have some
And who
commercial
even
breaks.
watches that?
You have some commercial breaks, which are each like 5 minutes, and then like an AD segment, which is like 6 minutes, and an intro segment, which is like 5 minutes, and then you're into pick ban, and then you're into gameplay, which is like 30 to 50. So maybe it's more like 60, 70% of the broadcast is gameplay. But it's not like you can just replace that the other 40% with Coach Bjergsen. We're gonna follow him, walk down the hallway, and we're gonna watch him eat the food. You know, like
I mean, like
here's getting
a,
screen time with him is gonna be hard. You know,
here's like something that's kind of scary. I mean, I haven't done the numbers, but anecdotally, it feels as though content that I do about TSM or with TSM performs about twice as good as most other content on my channel on average, like in terms of other teams. If TSM becomes less popular and those fans do not go to other teams, because you have to really hope that like if TSM becomes less popular because maybe they don't perform, people are sad about Bjergsen, maybe Double Lift doesn't start or something like that, you have to hope that those viewers go and become fans of other teams. And if they don't, then like, you know, my YouTube channel is a microcosm of what is happening at LCS. Could be really like, you know, my numbers, for instance, could be impacted on that stuff. Now, thankfully, Alienware is amazing. I'm not too worried about them like pulling support or something, but it is a ripple effect across the whole ecosystem, and people don't really think about that.
And I think a lot of the time people in Twitch chat, because I see a lot of them talking about like, oh, the mentality of these people, you know, like the people who watch these kinds of shows are the more hardcore fans. And like the things we're talking about probably aren't going to affect you. Like you're probably not going to stop watching because Bjergsen's not here. It's like the more casual fans that are often the ones who...
Mark, are you telling me that the person sitting on the East Coast at 1 a.m. right now watching the video and then frustrated because they haven't been gifted a sub so they can't go back and immediately watch the first half behind my sub-only VODs is not representative of the typical person who casually tunes into the LCS every weekend?
The person who's commenting deep in the Reddit thread right now,
yes,
who's typing up this thing as he listens on his second monitor.
I will continue to watch the LCS. I don't know what you're talking about. Let me pull up my spreadsheet where I've been tracking my viewership rewards and the things that I've been getting dropped throughout the year.
Blue Essence, yeah.
You guy or girl listening, we appreciate you for being a hardcore fan. You're not necessarily the person that we are concerned about going and doing something else with your time on weekends when your favorite players aren't on screen anymore.
Yeah,
like you are not the person we're worried about. There's a whole subset of people who don't go on Reddit, who watch, and this is
have no idea who Travis
I would say
Gafford
the people
is.
who
the
watch
vast,
the show, who interact with Reddit, etc., are the subset, right?
Yeah, like the vast majority of League esports fans who watch frequently are not like on Reddit frequently. They might go on sometimes and they'll know it exists, but like it's actually not that indicative of the average fan experience, from what I understand.
Yeah.
It's the most vocal fan base. It's the one that's the most transparent, easy to get feedback through because they're the most engaged, but it's actually not the biggest, from what I understand. Like if you're going to talk about like Redditor versus non-Redditor, I think the non-Redditor Venn diagram will be bigger.
Yeah, 100%. So here, let's sort of wind this down. I think what is interesting is if you are Riot, boy, do you have your work cut out for you, because I think you now need to, 1, figure out how to build branding and storylines around your existing players. 2, figure out how to craft a pipeline so that you can bring new talent in, because it is an issue that we have very obviously and very clearly had, both in terms of our ability to find and cultivate talent who will stick with the league and not just disappear after a couple splits because they looked okay and then they kind of didn't. And 2, sub category B, I guess A, B, 2B, they will also, we also don't seem to be able to cultivate talent that can bring us success at Worlds. So they also have to figure that out. 3, they have to figure out a way to make the broadcast better, because there seems to be an overwhelming sentiment that the broadcast is not particularly great, especially in comparison to LEC. And doing all this stuff and sort of building, broadcast and kind of attaching that to like the brand of the LCS, like, you have to grow that stuff as well. And so what I am very interested to see is like how Riot and the LCS team are able to start tackling all these challenges, because I think for a long time, especially if you look back 2016, 2017, and before, everything on the LCS felt like the up and up. And I'm not saying that things look really bad now or anything like that, but this is definitely a time where if you were at Riot and you're on the esports team, you have to really start figuring out like, how do we actually bring this thing to the next level, because we're stalling out. So I don't know.
You know what's the funniest thing? Remember that guy who called in like 2 years ago? I don't know who it was, but someone called in like 2 years ago and they're like, we should cancel Worlds.
Oh, I think
Do you
it was
remember this person?
Con was like, NA should stop going to Worlds.
They were like, we should cancel Worlds and like hold it like once every 4 years, like the Olympics or something.
Yeah,
So,
I think it was Con. I could be wrong, but I thought it was him.
prescient. Just knew where it was going on, where NA was headed.
Yeah, I also just really quickly before we wrap up, I do want to say, like, to me that being the super competitive is like my personal goal, and
Yeah.
I'm sure the goal of a lot of other people in the region. And hopefully we see a lot of changes soon, both within teams and within the league, to address that. And my take that I brought here is not my own personal priority. I just wanted to kind of address it as one aspect of the Bjergsen news that hasn't been covered that heavily.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely talked more about the absence of Bjergsen and talent and, you know, success and who can match him in that level, but the business side is a big part too.
Yeah.
Invert, thanks so much for the call. Can't wait to see what you're able to manage with Sneaky next year. And anything you want to shout out?
I want to shout out Dignitas and the LCS overall. I appreciate the fight that our teams put up at Worlds and hope we can do better next year.
Very good. Well, have a good one. Sorry that Mark flamed you earlier. Remember, it was Mark, not me.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Catch you later.
See you, dude.
Okay. So that rounds out the show. Mark, I think a pretty fun one. I'm glad we did this. I'm glad we were able to bring in like different personalities from the scene for this episode. Yeah. Anything you want to plug or shout out here at the end?
Nope. I'm a little bummed we didn't get more like Worlds topics from people. But you know, we're a North American show. We've been out for a couple weeks. There's more news around off-season stuff. I have another show, The Dive, where we'll probably be diving in a lot more about the actual gameplay that happened this week. So if you want some of that, you can check out.
I mean, that's great. I'm sure all the
Dive.
EU and Asian players who care about Worlds still will be really
I'm sure
tuning
there's
into The Dive.
at least 20 North American fans who watch semifinals this weekend and will be tuning in for Worlds. At least 20.
I mean, how many people are on the LCS broadcast or behind the scenes and in front? Because at least that's 20. So I would agree with you on that.
All the producers who are still working from North America during this, they're the 20 people watching. Someone says do a poll. How about you do a poll?
Oh God, we're gonna try all. We just said these people.
I'm clearly
okay. Well, I'll ask. What do I say? Do you still care about Worlds now? What's the question?
Yeah, something like that. Like, did you watch semis or are you gonna watch finals?
I mean, if
live?
you ask how are you gonna watch finals, I think a lot of people will care. Do you care passionately about Worlds still? Worlds 2020 still? Yes. No. Do I need something in between yes or no?
No, I think that's it. Make it simple.
Okay. Okay. The poll is up in the Twitch chat.
Yeah, you don't need to spam Twitch chat. Yeah.
They're not the brightest bunch.
I voted no.
I voted no as well. I don't think we should be saying that publicly in content. It's a bad look for us, but
I mean, I'm memeing. Obviously, I care.
I mean, so am I memeing. I'm just saying we shouldn't meme like that, you know.
All right, it's about 50-50.
Yeah, it's about 50-50.
All right, let's get out of here.
All right. Well, for me, I've got a ton of content coming out. Actually, I did a really great interview with Anero that went up on the channel today about how he built basically a low ping in-house system, and then the pros didn't use it. I've got some really interesting stuff coming out this week that on the YouTube channel I think that are Now, I don't know. I don't know how to put it. I've got some interesting stories that I don't think are public yet that will be hitting the channel. So subscribe to the channel. I hit 200K. I really appreciate it. But there's some interesting stuff hitting the channel
People
this week.
can use bits for voting.
Yes.
What is this?
Yes, you can. You can use
make
bits.
more polls.
You can use bits or channel points. So
Yeah, but bits give you money, right?
yes.
The guy who put the bits in said, "I fucked up by putting bits instead of channel points."
That's awesome. That's so good. I
we gotta do more polls to trick people into
Yes.
paying you.
Yes, and be sure, everyone, you can use channel bits to continue to vote in the poll for free. Nice. Thank you for your $11. I think that's how much that counts for.
Oh my god, I'm sorry for your loss, Travis. You should refund him.
I
I don't know if you can actually. I don't know how.
I don't think there's a mechanism for doing that.
All right. Anyways, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing whatever stories you have.
Yeah. Well, you know
All the
some of them.
leaks.
I think I've told you some behind the scenes, but we can
Yeah.
pretend that you don't. Anyway, so stay tuned for that. Feels like there's something else. Oh, I've got my big call tomorrow, Mark, with
Oh yeah.
to find out if we can do our side project. So
I hope it goes well.
I mean, I think we're going to be able to do some version of it. I don't know if it'll be big or if it'll be small, but
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's a back and forth too. So
yeah.
that's
If you guys are waiting for the book channel to get active again, there's a world where I think we'll have it
it's
active
real
again soon.
active.
Well, it's been quiet because we've been doing stuff. Anyway,
World.
Mark's got to go, so we're gonna wrap up. The show.
Yeah, we should do Oathbringer soon. I'm down pretty much any time this week if you want to. Also, I was really glad you got back to my email after that shower that you said you were going to. That was really nice of you.
I mean, I did do the thing. You didn't reach out to me, and I got distracted by
I'm
work.
hanging up on Skype.
I completed the activity you wanted. Anyway, this has been Mark hung up before we could finish the show. This has been Hotline League episode 146.